They're the low-value men.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site. You can believe that. You can believe that. You can believe that.
Contracted COVID, but says with a mixture of medicines, including the controversial horse dewormer that has poisoned hundreds of people nationwide, he's now recovered.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
From the headlines to the whisper start. Low value mail, low value mail at 9 o'clock. Where truth and fiction take a walk.
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon? You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Our stories are.
Welcome back, everybody, to an all-new episode of Low Value Mail on this Monday, July 27th, 2026, the year of our Lord. July is almost over. We're almost into August. Look at that. It's episode number 193, and we got a guest. I know we haven't had a guest in a while. This is thanks to Dylan. I know Dylan wants his flowers. Gay. But this thanks to Dylan joining me in about 1 hour. We have Big Herc. If you don't know him, he's the creator of the Fresh Out YouTube channel where he interviews ex-cons. He's basically a pioneer in this space, to be honest. He's had the channel for like 12 or 13 years or something like that. So he was like, because this is a huge, form of content now, this prison content, which I myself am a big purveyor of. I'm a big fan. So he's going to be joining us. We can chat with him. Got some questions for him. Hopefully you guys also have some questions for him. The phone lines will be open. Of course, before I do get started, as always, there's a priority Patreon number for those of you that support the show. US and Canada number. Just gives you a better chance of getting through. I'm going to, do my little thing at the top of the show. Then we're going to open the phone lines till 8. So not all of you will get through. If you don't, I apologize. That's just them's the breaks. Also, not tomorrow. I don't know what day this week, actually. I think it'll be actually Thursday. Wednesday, if any of you guys are so inclined, I'm going to be hosting Will Kane's call-in show on Fox News YouTube channel. I don't know if it's on Fox News' YouTube channel or it's just on Will Kane Country YouTube channel, but I'm going to be guest hosting that from 12 p.m. Eastern to 1. Most of you will not get past the screeners because it is a real call. It is a real thing, but feel free to watch that. I think we have some cool guests lined up, or at least a cool guest. We'll see. And I think Thursday we'll do the Not Financial Advice live stream. If you don't know, I take the money from the Patreon and I just light it on fire. We're getting just annihilated, but we're having fun. So I guess that's it. You can sign up, support the show, patreon.com/lowvaluemail, MAIL. You get live chat, ad-free audio, Discord access, and you give me more money to gamble with. Anyways, all right, let's get to the show. We don't have much time before Big Herc comes on. There's a massive... Is any of your phones not working, by the way? Because my fucking phone there's some T-Mobile outage, and I have Google Fi. I haven't been able to use my phone for the last 2 hours. I thought it was America. Also, shout out to Abdul. With the super chats, he says, "Stop the hate, love one another." I agree, Abdul. I agree with Abdul. I agree with a lot of what Abdul says, actually. You know what? This might, you guys might not like what I'm about to say. I think Abdul's gonna, I think he's gonna do good in life. I don't know why. I have a feeling. And it's not from Somali fraud scams. Anyways, let's talk about Shiloh Hendrix. Big news. Big news. I know this is big news to you. So, for those of you who don't remember, last week, Shiloh Hendrix, this was last Friday, Shiloh Hendrix, the Minnesota woman who was charged after a video went viral of her calling a black autistic child the N-word. She was convicted Friday. She was charged. She had a number of charges, I believe, maybe 2 or 3. She was convicted of disorderly conduct, a misdemeanor. She was fined $1,000, put on probation, and will be required to perform, I believe, 200 hours of community service. Now, interestingly, she was not found guilty of her interaction with the child, which was kind of the big story. It was like, can you believe this woman calling this child the N-word? Can you believe it? That wasn't what she got convicted of. It was actually, she had this interaction with this child who I guess stole something from her bag, took something out of there, like one of her kids' snacks or some shit. And then a bystander, someone who was there, started filming her. They had an interaction, and that's where the charges, or the conviction, or rather, came from, right? So now you would think it's odd. I'm just spitballing here, that if she was acquitted of the charges relating to the child, which preceded her incident with the grown man filming her, you would think that she would be completely innocent. They would say, well, if we couldn't get her on the initial incident, then anything that happened kind of after the fact, she should also be innocent. You would think that. Now, look, in my opinion, and I know some of you disagree with me, in my opinion, is what she did, was it tasteless? Absolutely. But last I checked, being white trash in this country is not a crime, or black trash, or Chinese trash, or Mexican trash, or Jewish trash, or Muslim trash. Any type of trash is not illegal. It is literally every American's God-given right to be trash should they choose to do so. Now, this obviously has some serious First Amendment implications. Now, I had to look up specifically. I go, what does disorderly conduct entail? So it differs state to state. In Minnesota, it is a misdemeanor offense defined under Minnesota statutes section 609.72 as engaging in fighting, disturbing lawful meetings, or using obscene, boisterous language that alarms or disturbs others. So basically, they probably got her on that last part, or at least that's what that's what they're going for, is the using obscene but / boisterous. It needs to be both obscene and boisterous language that alarms or disturbs other. I guess you can, I don't know if that means you can be boisterous and not obscene, not a crime. You could be obscene and not boisterous, also not a crime. You combine the two things, you've now committed a misdemeanor. So basically, you can call someone the N-word and be covered by the First Amendment as long as it's, calm. You can say it. You do it very calm. But if you yell at them, that's now a misdemeanor crime. Now, it seems like what they're essentially saying is being overly loud in public is, technically a misdemeanor. One that doesn't seem to get enforced much, at least here where I live in New York City. And look, I am all for enforcing this law. If it was actually going to be applied evenly to all people, if they said, hey, we're going to start, which I feel like this is something they do in like Singapore, Japan or something, if they were going to apply this evenly to everybody, I go for it. I'll donate to whoever. Like if the president of this country actually had a spine and made headphone dodging a crime, we might actually have a decent society. Even if it's a misdemeanor and a fine and some community service, we might have a real society on our hands. But we know they're not doing that. They're picking and choosing who this applies to. And look, what stops them from, subsequently just going and violating anybody's free speech by just being like, you're too loud. You know what? We have our little decibel meter out, and turns out you're being a little too loud for us. So we're gonna shut you down right here. You can see how this could get misused, if you will. I guess you could say that. Now, her defense attorney, I don't know if you've seen this guy, pretty based defense attorney, to be honest, is her defense attorney, Brian Carolus. He plans to appeal the verdict. He claims the bystander was pretending to not know English in court and had perjured himself multiple times. Now, Assistant Chief District Court Judge, this was the judge in the case, Krista M. Daly, her first name literally has Christ in it. Interesting. That's interesting. Christ in her first name. Krista, the judge disclosed the jury instruction and oversaw the case in which Hendrix was found guilty of saying the N-word to Sharmak Omar, the man who filmed the interaction that went viral. He filmed her and told her repeatedly to say the N-word and said that he was filming her with the intent of posting the video online. So he told her in his video, he said, say the N-word. She obliged, and then she got convicted. Dare I say that's entrapment? See, guys, see what I did there? Entrapment. Now, Hendrix was found guilty of disorderly conduct for using what the judge called fighting words against Omar, but the count of disorderly conduct against a child who she said stole a snack from her 18-month-old son's diaper bag was dropped. She was alleged to have called him the N-word, which is what prompted Omar to confront her with his cell phone. Now, Daly's, Christ A. Daly's jury instructions did not directly mention First Amendment protections other than to say it's not illegal to say something racist. The documents also asked jurors to examine their own implicit bias and suggested that the use of a racial slur could provoke a violent reaction from Omar. The jury, interestingly, took 9 hours to deliberate this, close to 9 hours. The instructions given by Daly said that the jury must determine if the language from Hendrix was obscene and if they also constituted fighting words. In order to find her guilty of disorderly conduct, Daly asked jurors to determine if the defendant engaged in offensive, obscene, abusive, boisterous, or noisy conduct, or an offensive, obscene, or abusive language tending reasonably to arouse alarm, anger, or resentment in others. Now, again, a boisterous, noisy conduct? Are we going to be a society that criminalizes noisy conduct? I sure hope so. I sure hope this is a precedent that will ring across the land from coast to coast, that noisy conduct shall be met with arrest. You are looking at somebody who is so in favor of this. I would make it a felony, personally. That's what I would do. I would make it an actual felony to be loud in public. But you know what? I'm not in charge. I'm not. Now, the judge also said, if you find that the defendant's conduct consisted only of offensive, obscene, or abusive language, you must also find that the words used were fighting words. Again, the fighting words makes no sense because the guy was like, say it, and then she said it, and he didn't fight her. So then they're not fighting words. They're, by definition, that's not fighting words because he was like, say it. And then she's like, okay, said it. And he goes, all right, well, I'm not fighting you. So they're not fighting words. And then the judge went on to say speech is not fighting words merely because it is racist. Fighting words are words that constitute personally offensive epithets that, when spoken to the ordinary person under the particular circumstances of the case, are, as a matter of common knowledge, inherently likely to provoke a violent reaction or incite an immediate breach of the peace by those to whom such words are addressed. The offense may be based upon the utterance of fighting words alone without resulting in actual violence. The focus is upon the nature of the words and the circumstances in which they were spoken rather than upon the actual response. Now, this sounds to me way more like Chud the Builder. Like Chud the Builder, I go, yeah, Chud the Builder was doing fighting words. He was a lot more doing fighting words than Shiloh Hendrix. She was just like a fucking retard. I don't know. She was a retard at the park. Is that a crime, Your Honor? I don't think so. Her lawyer posted this. Her lawyer has been going off, by the way. This guy is... He's been going off. Her lawyer posted this tweet 2 days ago, which is quite illuminating. This is the tweet, direct quote from the lawyer. He says, the public should know, not because I say so, because this was their courthouse, their constitution, their justice system. The media asked to televise the trial. I said yes. The state said no. Read that again. A case built around a recording, a woman prosecuted because of what was captured on video, yet when the public asked to watch the trial itself, the state fought to keep the cameras out. Why? What exactly was the public not supposed to see? I argued on the record for transparency, not for publicity. Transparency. I argued that the people of Rochester, the citizens of Olmsted County, the people of Minnesota, and every American should be allowed to watch the process, to see the witnesses, to hear the arguments, to watch the rulings, to decide for themselves whether justice was done. The answer, denied. Yep. Think about the contradiction. A camera in a park becomes the centerpiece of a criminal prosecution. A camera in a courtroom becomes unacceptable. One camera is welcomed, the other is feared. One camera used for a $340,000 shakedown, and the other feared. One used to convict a woman for protected speech, the other feared. Justice is not a private club. It does not belong to judges. It does not belong to prosecutors. It belongs to the people. Public confidence is not built by asking citizens to trust the system. It is built by letting them watch it. Sunlight is uncomfortable, so is accountability. If the courtroom cannot withstand the scrutiny of the citizens it serves, then we have a much larger conversation to have than the outcome of a single case. The people were told to trust the process. I asked that they be allowed to see it. They are not the same thing. It is time to wake the fuck up. So that's what he said. Also, as a side note, this is kind of like an unrelated funny thing, I guess. The little autistic black boy, who again, we're talking about a little child, right? The fact that we're like treating, a kid who's like, I think he's 18 months or 2 years old, like an adult is ridiculous. Obviously, he's a little kid. But this little autistic black boy literally wears an ankle monitor because he runs away a lot. I guess he's a little bit of a flight risk. I don't know about a flight risk, but he's a runner. The kid's a runner. He likes to run away. So he has a government ankle monitor. It's not mandatory. It's just in case he runs away, which, again, obviously I'm not a parent. I've been a dog parent at one point. Rest in peace, Connor. But you don't want your kid running away, obviously. But at the same time, if I was a black parent, I don't want to tell people how to do their jobs. I don't want, raising kids is hard. If I was a black parent, just for the optics, I would ask for literally any other way to track my kid. I do not need the looks of me walking around my basically toddler with a fucking ankle monitor on. It seems like there has to be a better way to do that. Now, all in all, regardless of the conviction, Shiloh Hendrix, big winner in this scenario. No question, she is the big winner here. She raised close to $1 million. This is probably someone who, had she not ever done this, would probably not see $1 million total for the rest of her life, if I had to guess. She'll probably raise even more money now that she was convicted. She has a misdemeanor, $1,000 fine, some community service. That's it. Seems like she is the big winner here, big time. And look, the moral of the story, for all of you who are watching, if you want to hurl racial epithets at people, you need to do so in a calm manner. Do not raise your voice. Raising your voice is what makes it a crime, apparently. All right, we're going to open the phone lines. I'm sure many of you have much to say. The number is 1-347-391-6995. We have the Patreon numbers. You should all have them. If you don't have them, just drop a post in the Patreon chat. Someone will give them to you. And then we'll be joined by Big Herc in 40 minutes. from now. Thank you to Dylan, of course. I believe I missed a super chat from Jared, the mustache. He says, I want to fight Abdul. All right. Well, I mean, if this show wants to get into the world of fighting, and if Abdul consents, two of you can fight. Jared is a big boy, though. Jared is a large man. So do it that way you will. Thank you for the jewels, everybody. Whoever dropped those stupid Iron Man Metal Bill. Thank you for it. Iron Man Metal Bill, who's been a high-value member for 21 months. Nilla is for the white folks. Suppose. Okay. Let's get to some calls. Call in. We have 40 minutes. And again, before I get to the calls, if you want to join the list of very important scroats you see at the beginning, give me more money to gamble on the stock market, you can do so here or on Patreon. Just join the $10 tier. You can upgrade. I prefer Patreon. YouTube takes like half the money. You get all sorts of stuff, ad-free audio, video, the group chat, the DGen streams, as long as those go for. I don't know how long they're going to go for. I'm not just going to lose money every single month. But like I said on the last stream, I got to get lucky at some point. And as always, if you do not have any money, you can support the show without money. Just like the stream, share it with a friend, leave a comment, or follow on Spotify. All right. Let's go to the phone lines. Looky Lou, we got Slav. I gotta reclaim the host here. Hold on. Slav, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
It's good. Just just a little sidetrack. Canadian wildfires. Has it been happening because of garbaging? We're not garbaging. Car
Because of
batteries. Garbaging.
I don't know what that
It's a very
is.
famous video. No, there's a very, very famous video that came out this year. It was a group of Indians. Sorry, not Indians. It's a group of Canadians.
Yeah.
Very much, I'm Canadian, thought, and
Yeah.
they're being yelled at by an indigenous dominionist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not an indigenous, like, you know, an Eskimo type
Yeah.
First Nations,
First Nations.
but
yeah.
but an indigenous dominionist. You know, the people who actually built Canada.
Gotcha.
And he was.
So you're
yelling at
saying
them,
that the red dots started the fires?
It's what came out of the last time this happened.
I mean, I'll tell you. So I have a friend. I don't know if I've said this on this show before. I have a friend he's a helicopter pilot in Ontario. He used to work fighting wildfires. Many Indigenous people who live on reservations, that's what they do for work in the summertime. And I'm not saying this happened. I'm just saying this is what I've heard. This is hearsay. This is not to claim that this is what happened in this instance. But when there are no wildfires for them to fight, essentially when they do not have work, they start the fires to give them work.
Oh, so it's a Fahrenheit 451 situation.
Kind of. They literally start the fires. It's like, imagine you're a snowplow guy and you could just make it snow when it's not snowing.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So have you read Fahrenheit 451?
When I was like in high school, yes.
Do you remember the specific buildings he targeted?
I don't.
Right. The ones that wouldn't cause harm, undue harm. In fact, it's actually pretty cool because, I mean, actually, I take that back. It caused double joy for the landlords and the insurance holders.
Yeah.
You know, the Passover observing type of people.
Sure.
But no, they do it wantonly. This all does go back to. It is ironic that, you know, there's Indians or Indians, you know, the ones who lived here in the North American continent, and then you're aware of the Cobra bounty of the Raj, right?
I've heard of this, yeah, where they had to. What was it like? They had to bring cobras.
Yeah, Yeah, the savage, the weak savages of the Raj, or as people like to call it now, India and Pakistan. They had such a problem with cobras. I mean, the problem was more so affecting the actual local population that they offered bounties, and there's Indians didn't see past the ulterior, long-sighted goal of we're rewarding you for removing a problem. We're not rewarding you for bringing us the problem.
Sure.
So the Indians,
the incentives were wrong, is what you're saying.
Well, the problem is that they shouldn't have never received incentives because their brains don't work like that. So they started.
Okay, so what is your point
cobra
here?
Breeding farms. The point is, no matter how much civility you try and bring to these non-white stock Europeans, it is a burden for them. And for them to unburden themselves of this burden, it is only through scamming. Where they only think in 15-minute intervals. It's like, wait, how can I prove myself for this? How can I reward myself for this?
Yeah, but they're not the ones fighting the fires. So unless you have like
No, but you said that your friend said that it's almost very much seeming like so that they're the ones setting the fires themselves.
The indigenous.
Yes,
the indigenous
Indians.
Yes.
Yeah, because you said that they're not getting enough work. Well, what is it? Because they're bored, or because they don't get recognition. Yeah, they don't get recognition for not doing anything. You get the recognition of when you do something when it's genuine. That's when you get the recognition. And then also,
it has nothing to do with recognition. They live on these reserves in the fucking middle of nowhere. Like, I don't know if you know about northwestern Ontario.
Yes, I do.
It's barely. It's not habitable. Like it's all just dense forest peppered with these like reserves before you get to like essentially Winnipeg.
Yeah, it's the same.
They live in the middle of nowhere, and this is how they make money. And when there's no fires, they light them. I'm not saying they did that, but I've heard that they've done that in the past.
Well, no, it wouldn't be out of the ordinary. And
absolutely not.
Very much how it's. Okay, well, your friend who brought this up to you, he's the one who works in the closest proximity to them than you do. Again, you only have 4 blacks. Again, we're going to say.
What does this have to do with black people?
Blacks in your school. No, I'm just saying that you are actually very sheltered against growing up against minorities and seeing the way that they behave, and this is getting to the whole Shiloh Hendrix thing. This is absolutely very much like a First Amendment issue, and you're behaving in the same way, and you're behaving almost in the same way as you did with Chud the Builder, and you're also misrepresenting what happened with his case. The way you're acting.
I mean, if you're trying to tell me that that Chud the Builder wasn't by definition.
No, hold on. Yes,
at some points committing the crime.
Because if you actually saw the stream, which was on Telegram, the actual stream that was on Telegram and uploaded by others on Telegram, he was completely, did he misbehave? Sure. His misbehavior did not justify what was done to him.
I never said that.
What?
I didn't. First off, I haven't said it.
Well,
I mean, I have said that. Look, if you go around doing that, like similar to the fighting words, yeah, you should expect a fight.
Okay, but here's the thing. How many black? Okay, how about this? Fine. Maybe let's not do high school or school. How many blacks did you go to with in college?
I
mean,
not many.
Yeah, in college.
Not
was
many.
it more than 4?
I went to an agricultural college, like something like a Texas A&M. Yeah, it was more than 4. More than 4. 6? I mean, it was a huge school. Okay. There was plenty of people I didn't know, but
yeah, but
not a lot. Not a lot.
Would they be called Uncle Toms or sellouts or coons or anything that Clarence? Look, think about this. I told you how I feel about the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas, there should be 8 more of him.
Yeah.
On the court, right? And you know what the average black says about him. Were any of those in college of those type, or the we don't use personal sound equipment when in public spaces?
So here's the thing. It was that was a different time. Like there wasn't that. I think those like portable speakers like didn't really quite exist then. So.
Oh no, but speakerphones exist. But it's like here's the thing. The problem with I'm bringing up is this whole notion of fighting words when everything for them is a fighting word. I mean, I've personally witnessed fights happen because somebody accidentally stuffed another's shoes.
Yeah.
You would think I'm just making a joke. No, I've literally seen it.
No, I believe you.
I've seen it. No, I've seen blood spilled and teeth knocked out because.
I mean, look, I'll give you. I know you're saying this is a black thing, but like first overall draft pick, Gavin McKenna, now a Toronto Maple Leaf, was playing for Penn State. He's the guy's an absolute star. The hockey knowers know who this guy is. Some guy went and talked shit about the guy's mom, and he went and he beat the shit out of him in a fucking parking lot. So you're like, yes, there are such thing as fighting words. Like they went and he was exonerated. But like some guy like talked shit about his mom at a bar somewhere like near Penn State, and he went and he just like fucking dummied the guy in a parking lot. Like there is such a thing as fighting words. He's not black. Nobody was black.
What were the racial compromises of these individuals involved? Because here's the thing,
they're all white.
Does matter. Okay. But that's the thing. I am not color. Like I was brought up.
I mean, dude, you live in Texas. You're telling me in Texas I could go to a bar, some cowboy bar, and start calling guys gay, and I would just walk out of there just untouched?
How often have you been? No. You've been to Houston.
I've never been to Houston. I've never been to Houston, actually.
Oh, that must explain why. Well, bro.
So you're saying that I could go to Oklahoma. I could go anywhere in the South, start calling a bunch of white guys gay, and I will just walk out unscathed. I have had to grow up in places where forced integration had happened. You know how good integration apparently is here in America? It's so good that President Eisenhower had to order troops from 101st all over the South. And then other National Guard troops and State Guard troops all over the South to forcibly integrate schools and public areas by pointing loaded rifles and bayonets at children. I've seen the photos.
Okay.
What is your point, though?
The point is, it's such a problem. They had to, like, forced integration is such a problem and so unwanted that people are like, we don't want, you know how blacks can avoid racism? Not by being around whites. Literally, you know how you Jews can avoid anti-Semitism? By not being around anybody but your own. It's so easy.
There's not really
that is true. No, it is. Okay, so in Muncie Park or Lakewood, New Jersey, where is the anti-Semitism unless Tyler Oliveira shows up and asks, what do you do for work? What is your income? You guys are all just receiving welfare? All he does is ask genuine questions that all receive the answer of, yes, the questions you're asking, we confirm that is so. Please leave. And he's like, I'm leaving. All I do is ask questions, and you confirm my questions. So this is the thing of all we want is just it's called freedom of association. Look, you got
you're free to associate wherever you want. Of course, it's called freedom of association. Who's arguing with you?
And we just want segregation back.
Okay, so then go fucking make some more money. Go build up your skills. Make
and then
some
what?
More money,
and then what? Have
and
one
then
of
you
the,
can
one
move.
ha- one have and then what? Have
And then you can move somewhere. You can move to a nice gated community. You can go move to Arkansas.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a specific example of here in Houston.
Yeah.
University of Houston, where I went to school at. I mean, I don't even give a shit about doctrine myself anymore, but on the southern end, we have the tail end of Brays Bayou before it turns into Pasadena and all that. There's a very, very nice row of big, giant mansions. Old Houston money stock. Like, we're talking about even before the big oil booms of the 60s and 70s. We're talking about like 20s and 30s. There were blacks, especially like what is now like the third ward and stuff, during even the 50s and 60s, they were rich, and they themselves were very racist, just like the blacks who lived in LA during the 50s who complained about blacks coming up from the South during the Great Flight. They're like, we don't want these blacks coming up here. We know them. We know those blacks.
But can you live around those blacks, or that you don't even want to live around
No.
those
I'm
blacks?
gonna tell you what happened. Those mansions, that whole entire neighborhood was all white, and even before HOAs were needed, it was just like, yeah, you can't really be selling. Like, if you're gonna be selling these houses here as a realtor, you can't sell to blacks. So you know what happened? Some sneaky dreidel spinning. No, this is what happened. And the Jews here in town, they even brag about this. They're like, we had to lie about us not being Jewish, because if they found out we were Jewish, we had to change our names. We had to have somebody else that wasn't Jew, that didn't have a Jewish last name, be in charge of our real estate company. And they started buying up these houses and then transferring those houses free of charge to blacks. And blacks,
so why don't white people just do that same thing and transfer them free of charge to white people? Seems like you guys are just you don't cooperate the same as the minorities do. There's nothing preventing the whites from doing that.
No, that's the thing you're missing. It is, because it's exclusionary and it's discriminatory when blacks are not allowed. Dude, blacks have done this all the fucking time, where there will be a real estate agent and blacks will apply. They're like, our credit's good. We have more than enough money for the asset price. And they're like, it's going to cost this to replace this one piece of utility, like the dishwasher and that thing upstairs. And like, we don't even care. We can replace every single piece of appliance, every single appliance in the home. Like, okay, we'll do that. And then they have one of their so-called white, quote unquote, white friends come in and be like, I'm offering, like $50K less for the selling price. And, make sure the owner can replace that, broken dishwasher. I can figure out the rest of the appliances. They still get it. Then both offering parties come in and say, well, you can either sell to these blacks or we're going to take you to court. Or if you just sell, we're not going to bring you to court, and this can all just go under the rug. And because we're going to force you to court, now you have to give it on the way cheaper to these colored.
I thought it's the whites that are asking it for way cheaper, or the Jews.
No. It is the Jews who ask for just a little bit cheaper, because they have this, they can do this chameleon thing where, you did with your guests a year or two ago, where they're like, I'm white, I'm not Jewish, I'm white, I'm not Jewish.
We'll ask Big Herc if he thinks I'm white. What do you think he's going to say?
Okay, so basically, with the slash remark of Shiloh Hendrix, Abdul, he's bragged about before that he's laid down with a white woman. I truly think he fucking raped her. And every single Somali I'm sorry, asking them to stop, it won't get through their head. This is scientific fact. Their average IQ is of 70.
Abdul, I've spoken with Abdul. Look, I've spoken with Abdul. He does not have a 70 IQ.
Danny,
dude,
they will give anybody a political science degree.
I don't need his degree, okay? Look, I've spoken with Abdul. He's a sharp guy.
He thinks he is part of the Democratic Party.
I would bet any money that if we fucking pick back up
in
20 years from now, you guys both have kind of a similar story. You both are not born in this country.
In 20 years? Motherfucker, in 20 seconds, I want to cave his head in with a brick.
No. Listen to what I'm saying. In 20 years from now, you guys both have a similar story. You both are immigrants to this country. You weren't born here.
No. We do not have a similar story. I've never been on welfare. I never asked.
You never said. How do you know he was on welfare?
Checks.
He
literally admitted that he's on Medicaid.
Well, that I don't
He's
remember.
been on Medicaid his whole life. That is welfare. That is welfare.
Okay, well, if we're saying Medicaid, but whatever. Anyways, my point is that in 20 years from now...
No, because, see, you're proving that you're not an American.
I'm not an American.
You're trying to get our citizenship. And I'm trying my best to force assimilate you through vitriol hatred, and you're not picking up on it.
No. Anyways, my point, and I have to let you go, is that 20 years from now, I will fucking bet any sum of money that Abdul will be doing way better in life.
In 20 years from now, Abdul will not be alive. I will make sure of it that he is not alive.
All right, bye, Slav. I literally lose a fucking 10 IQ points talking to that guy. I know you guys like it, but I legitimately lose 10 IQ points every time I talk to Slav. All right, we got 20 minutes, and then we got to take some calls. Poison1553 Pablo says, I believe in you, Danny. Turn my $2 into 2 cents. Unfortunately, that's how it's been going. All right, let's go talk to Jake. And then we'll get to Jack, Johnny Rico, who I don't think we've ever spoken with Johnny Rico before. I've never seen the name before. Jake.
What is up, Danny? What are you doing, bro?
What do you mean?
Why are you talking to Slav for so long? What is going on?
I don't know. He ropes me in, man. I get roped in. I get roped in with all of you, to be honest. All of you, I probably need like a fucking timer.
Oh, I love you so goddamn much, Danny. Okay. Okay. How many call-in shows are there on the internet nowadays?
I don't know. Not that many.
Have you ever heard? Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like, we need more. God damn it. People want to talk to each other, have human experiences. But anyway, Did you listen to King Buffalo yet?
No, I haven't. You know what? I'm going to hold on. Let me cue this up on my phone. Although, you know what? I don't even have my phone doesn't work. So I won't.
King Buffalo, Avalon. If you have to listen to any single one song by King Buffalo, just listen to Avalon.
I got a King Buffalo. Is that an album
it's
or a
on
song?
YouTube.
I won't
it's
have.
It's like a 6.5 minute song.
Okay, King Buffalo. I don't see it. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm going to download it to my device because I'm not going to have any data when I leave the studio, and I'll have it. And I will play.
As long as it's like if every single week that I say like, hey man, have you listened to King Buffalo? And you say no, I'm just going to be like, you're like all the other fucking normies, aren't you?
No, I'm going to listen to. I always forget. But I'm going to listen to it. It's downloaded to my library, I believe.
All right, man. So, do you ever listen to like Tool or Dream Theater?
I never really.
They're pretty big.
I know Dream Theater. I never really got into Tool, to be honest. I obviously know Tool.
There's an actual YouTube video that's fucking hilarious. I think it's called something like Every Single Tool Fan. Something like that, and it's like 4 dudes that are like dressed up like Tool fans, and they're all like repeating the lyrics like it's like a spiritual experience. And this chick is just like, "What's going on right now?" It's pretty fucking hilarious. It's like 10 years old by now. But anyway, Mike Portnoy, who is the drummer for Dream Theater, did this. Like, have you heard of Drumeo?
I don't think so. Drumeo?
Okay, so Drumeo, they're a bunch of music nerds, and they have different drummers try to...
Oh, yeah, I've seen those videos where they listen to the song without the drums, and then they'll get these, like, world-class drummers to basically see if they can...
Okay, yeah. So, Drumeo had Mike Portnoy, who is the drummer for Dream Theater, try to copy this song from Tool called Pneuma. And like he listened to it, and then he like was just like, "What the fuck? This isn't music. This is a mathematical formula."
Yeah.
it's like 30 minutes of watching him go from "What the fuck is this?" and then you watch like an expert drummer do his thing, and it's just this beautiful process of him slowly learning the song, and you're like, "Oh my god, that was amazing." Okay, so that was my King Buffalo Tool Dream Theater reference. Next up, AI, bro. AI.
What about it?
I know you love it.
Yeah.
I know you work with it. You make some good shit.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. You know Babylon Bee, right?
Of course. They steal our stuff all the time.
Yeah, I know you know the Babylon Bee. Did you ever see their YouTube shorts? They had 2 of them. One said, "We asked AI to show us an American future with no liberals or Democrats." And then they had another one where it was with no Republicans or conservatives.
I didn't see it. No. Is it good?
Bro, both of them are pure gold. But the best one was with A World Without Liberals. There's a spot where there's these like two kids playing out in the backyard, and there's a rainbow up in the sky after it rained, and the girl goes, "Wow, a rainbow!" And then the little boy, who's like 5 years old, says, "Look, it's the symbol of God's promise to Noah, and absolutely nothing else."
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
I died laughing. I had to watch it like 10 times just to get over how funny that was, because it's like you look at the gay pride flag and you're like, oh, as a Christian, I don't really approve of this because that's not what that symbol means.
Mm.
But then, okay, so the second thing with AI, have you heard of Gossip Goblin? It's a really random channel. I never heard about it until it was suggested in my YouTube feed.
No. Gossip Goblin.
Gossip Goblin is this guy that plays around with making films using AI, and his latest one is like his coming out masterpiece.
It's good. What, pomegranate?
It's called. How did I was literally about to say that, my friend.
Yeah.
My friend,
I didn't randomly guess. I'm looking. I Googled it. It's good.
Gossip Goblin's pomegranate is so fucking good, dude. I watched it twice already, and I just can't say enough good about it.
Oh, interesting.
It's really deep. It's
interesting.
Beautiful.
Aspect ratio.
It's really fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a bunch of like big filmmakers essentially saying like, yeah, we're getting in AI and like it or not.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like
we're making AI movies, and there's going to be a lot of AI movies coming out, like full feature length movies. Whether I know people are resistant to it now, like with the data centers and all that shit, and they don't like it. But I mean, this visually looks pretty sick.
Oh yeah, it's better than anything Hollywood's made in the last 10 years. But one thing I've noticed is that the singularity. Is pomegranate the fucking singularity, the point where we break out into a new AI future?
Yeah, I still because I've seen some like filmmakers talk about AI, and they're like, it's in the realm of special effects, like CGI.
We got six fingers, like, bro. We can do better.
Well,
you're like, wait a sec.
But I'm like this thing's nearly 30 minutes. If I could guess, I would say it took whoever made this a long fucking time. Like this did
Every single scene would have to be AI, typing everything in just the way you want it, and then reframing it and reframing it and reframing it for every 10-second scene.
And they have all these like voice actors. Like it's not all, like this wasn't something where they just one-shotted this in Claude. Like I bet you this took them like fucking 6 months to make. Like it probably took them close to what like an actual 30-minute movie would take to make.
Okay. Oh shit! You just talking about free YouTube shorts and movies and shows. Have you ever heard of? It's like a comedy remake of Oh, fuck. I can't remember anything right now. Fuck's sake. I'm just on the spot. It's Warhammer 40K, but as like a Rick and Morty scenario. It's fucking glorious.
It's AI as well?
Space Lord.
Space Lord?
Space Lord. No, it's cartoon.
Oh, it's cartoon. I'll check it out. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this pomegranate thing, and like their last upload, this was 5 days ago. Their last upload was 3 months ago. So you can think that it takes them at least 3 months to make it. Previous to that, 7 months ago.
One other thing.
All right, last thing. I got to take some more calls because we got to go to the break here.
I got two other things. One is really short, and one is like a medium sentence. Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Slav was talking about the N-word and whatnot, all this kind of stuff. Friday Night Tights, Ryan was on it, right?
Friday Night Tights? What's Friday Night Tights?
Dude, you don't know Friday Night Tights? I've watched it religiously for like 7 years now. It's glorious. It's like a panel of 8 nerds talking about everything Hollywood.
Yeah, I've seen this before. Yeah. I've seen Friday
Yeah,
Night.
yeah. There's a everybody loves to joke about Ryan as being a super racist and white supremacist. And and he said the other day, the last Friday Night Tights, he said, you know why I say blacks like I say blacks? He's like, because I emphasize it. Like I'm trying to say the N-word secret. Or he said something along those lines where he was just like, I emphasize the B so hard and the L in when I say black people. That he's just like trying to signal to other racists. I'm just like, what is going on here?
Okay.
I thought it was hilarious, and I'm like, Ryan from Friday Night Tights and Slav should totally grab a beer together.
Sure. I don't think Ryan wants to do that. I thought you were saying Ryan Long. I was like, Ryan was on. I know.
Ryan Long.
I know what Nerdrotic is. Yeah, I know who these guys are.
No, wasn't Ryan Long a guest on a panel like a month ago or some shit like that on Friday Night Tights? I'm pretty sure.
I have no idea. It's certainly possible.
Okay, so I figured that, you know, like he would tell you like, hey, I can't do this on Friday because I'm on Friday Night Tights.
No, definitely.
You're not that close.
That
okay.
certainly never came up.
The last thing I want to just briefly mention, fucking normies. They don't have a worldview. They don't understand or care about anything. Then they make fun of me and say the meanest shit off the cuff with zero self-awareness. Just like this random bald chick that I met at a bar. Like, okay, so I was like 26, hanging out with a 23-year-old at the bar. She was really fucking hot, but she had a weird, like, for some godforsaken reason, she shaved her head. So she was basically bald, but, you know, like a quarter inch of hair.
Yeah,
It's like, what the fuck? Okay, and then she had like skin tight clothes, and she was really gorgeous, great face, great body and everything. And then she had visible tattoos on her arms and legs, and I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then we kept flirting and talking back and forth at the bar for a good 10, 15 minutes or something like that. And then she started telling me about her phobias.
Such as?
She had like 20 phobias.
Of course.
I've never met a crazier woman.
She
might as well have had
she's
nose
wearing
rings.
the uniform, Jake. Sounds like she's wearing the crazy person uniform. That's hard to.
Yeah. Oh my God! You can instantly tell them from like a mile away. Ever since then, I've been like, oh my God, you're showing me all the signs. I'm out of here.
Look, I bet you should be a fun time for a night, though. All right, Jake, I gotta let you go. I'm sorry, man. I gotta let you go. Jake, everybody. All right, we're gonna go to Jack and then Johnny Rico. John Kennedy, I'm not gonna have time to get to you for the segment, but call back in the next half of the show, and we will definitely talk to you, John Kennedy. Jack,
hello, Danny.
What's up?
It's Zack up
Zach.
Here in
Sorry, you were listed as Jack. Easy.
That's fine. I get that. I know you only got a few minutes before Big Herc is on.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could ask him what he thinks of the
The phone lines are going to be open. He's going to be taking calls. You can ask him.
Okay. Well, I was originally going to ask what you thought about the DSA kind of eating the Democrats from within and then finally realizing what's going on.
You want to ask Big Herc that?
No, I was going to ask you that and then ask what he thinks of them wanting to eliminate prisons entirely, and if he thinks that's
a good question. That is a good question. I mean, look, the DSA stuff, obviously things seem to be trending for the Democratic Party in that direction. That, is going to be the big thing over the next couple of years. Is that, Mamdani just had a big press conference today. They're opening their grocery stores in the city. They're going to have 5 grocery stores. They're going to have every month a basket of essential goods that are going to be 30% below retail. The prices will be fixed. They will not move in that month. So basically, like whatever they are that month, that's what the prices are for the whole month. I mean, as a person with an economics degree, I'm just like, I don't get how this is supposed to work unless it's heavily subsidized. It's also, there's going to be neighboring grocery stores, like smaller bodegas and markets. You're like, how are they meant to compete? Like, are there going to be limits? Are you going to have to show ID to buy eggs? Like, I have no idea how this is going to work. I can't wait to see it. I mean, a huge risk I've said this many times, Like the biggest risk to the Republican Party and the, normie Democrats is that all this shit works. 2 years from now, everybody's like, man, these grocery stores haven't had a speed bump. What a great idea. Everybody loves them. And then people will be like, okay, well, if this works in, the biggest city in the country, maybe we can just apply this to the entire country. So we'll see. But I mean, look, the DSA, like, it's trending in that direction. There's no question. Like, they've got the heat right now. Absolutely no question about that.
Like literal breadlines in communism, it hasn't ever been, done properly. So we should give it a chance.
Right. And then again, it's just another, like, the city does not have enough taxes where it's going to be like, hey, here's another tax for people who don't use here's another tax for me, essentially, where I'm subsidizing. I mean, personally, I'm like, just take some of the money and give people like vouchers that they could use at grocery stores, like, I guess similar to like an EBT or something. I do like, I guess, that it's on a basket of like essential goods that are being subsidized. I guess that's better than like, hey, we're making fucking Skittles and M&Ms, even though who knows what they're going to do. But
I mean, that's what EBT is.
That's what EBT is, which they're not doing that, but we'll see. I don't know. Like in, the consensus among people who are not buying into this fucking gobbledygook is that it's not going to work. We'll see. I guess we'll see. I mean, honestly, I want them to open them. I'm personally interested to see how this works out. Like, my guess would be it won't work. Doesn't seem like it's going to work. It shouldn't work, but I want to see them try.
I'm looking forward to it as well. But if the intent is actually to destroy businesses and create poverty, desperation, and dependence, then it's going to work perfectly, even if the right.
They're saying it's not. They're saying like, look, this will actually be good for everybody because these will almost be like these destinations. Because there's like the first two they're opening, one in the Bronx, one in Harlem, and they're like, people will come from far away to go to these things. So it'll like actually bring business to other local businesses. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works. Anyways, Zach, my apologies. I got to let you go. I got to take one more call, and then we're going to talk to Big Herc.
Please go shoplift at that new grocery store. Bye.
All right, all right, we're going to go to Johnny Rico quickly, and then we got Big Herc coming on in a couple minutes. Johnny Rico, everybody. Is he not picking up?
Star 6?
There he is.
There we go. Okay.
What's up, Johnny?
I thought
Sorry.
it was a real mute. All right.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, for you, but what's up?
All good. One, Jake's a normie, even though he's talking shit about normies. Yeah, he's the super normie. Uber normie.
You hear that, Jake? Super normie.
Goddamn, Jake, shut the fuck up. Jury duty. I have jury duty coming up.
Yeah.
And man, I'm really hoping I can pay one forward. Maybe like vengeance, kind of for Shiloh. I hope it's one of those kinds of cases. I live in some liberal hellhole where they acquitted a black man for stabbing a white man because the white man called him the N-word after being stabbed. So,
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Where was that? Chicago?
Portland.
Right. Yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just finished listening to Boys Cast earlier last week. Great episode. And the testosterone talk was cracking me the fuck up. Because I was in the military for a few years, and I was older when I joined, so I was like, man, I'm in my 30s. I'm competing with these fucking young bucks. I need a little boost. So I went in, and it took a couple years. I finally got them to give me testosterone. But the policy, at least as it was a couple years ago, was put you on the minimal effective dose, which is only like 50 milligrams.
Right.
And the normal range for testosterone is between like 300 and 1,000.
Yeah.
And so it's a huge fucking range. So even if you're at 350 or 400, you still feel low compared to guys that are at 800,
for sure.
900.
Yeah, you're probably if you're like 900, you probably feel like you're 16.
Yeah. And so the minimum dose doesn't really boost you that much. It might take you from like 350 to like 450-ish. I don't know. I didn't have that much effect with it. But the thing that really sucks about it is it shrinks your balls.
There's something they can do. So it's like it's hypogonadalism or whatever.
Clomiphene.
Yeah, but
hypogonadism.
But there's another thing. I remember I've read about it, and there is another thing that they can give you that on top of your exogenous testosterone that counteracts that.
Yeah, clomiphene is one option. It activates the pituitary gland to make your balls work better.
Right.
And so like the worst part about this whole experience was they send you to a urologist to get your dick looked at, I guess. And my urologist was this very fine shit kind of girl, you know?
Yeah.
And fast forward a few years, I'm with some girl, I'm thinking about maybe getting pregnant, so I'm talking to the I don't know, some fucking doctor about getting off the testosterone or at least checking my sperm count. And he's like, hey, did she ever fondle your balls? And I said, no. He goes, oh shit, dude, she should have. She never even touched my balls, Danny. That was really upsetting.
That sucks. Were there any problems?
Anyways.
Did there end up being any issues or no?
No, just the normal side effects of being on testosterone. But also the point being, like, the minimum effective amount, 50 milligrams, is like you get all the negative side effects without all the awesome benefits. You just get like mild benefits.
So you gotta go.
You're gonna
ham.
do 100.
Yeah, you gotta go ham.
Not even ham, just like 150 a week.
150, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the one downside is I know this guy, he's a doctor. He's probably like in his 50s, and he's been on T for like 10 years, and he's basically like, yeah, you kind of just can't ever go off of it, though. That's, if there's any downside, he's just like, you can't really go off of it. Like, once you're on, he's like, you're kind of like on it for the rest of your life.
Well, my balls went back to normal when I haven't used it in like 4 years now. And everything went back to normal.
But he's like 50, so it's like he's like 55.
Yeah,
like who gives a shit what the balls look like at that point?
If you're past 50, yeah. But yeah, have a good one. Thanks for taking my call.
Good talking to you. Johnny Rico, everybody. Okay, we are going to a break. Don't go anywhere. We are going to be back very shortly with, I'm very excited about this, Big Herc. Stay put. Stay put. Look at that. We're back, everybody. Joining me, we haven't had a guest in a minute, but joining me is Big Herc 916. What's up, man? Thank you for coming on. As requested by the fans.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate the invite, brother.
Dude, I've been watching your shit on fucking TikTok for years. Years and years. You're one of like, so this whole kind of genre of like podcasts where people talk to people and like who are formerly incarcerated, like you kind of like started this, seems like I was looking today at your YouTube channel, like some of your oldest videos are like 12, like 13 years old.
Yeah, we started in 2013. We did our first interview, and since then I've interviewed, man, probably, I don't know, 300-400 people, a lot of people, cops, law enforcement, a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, the way I found out about you is because when Wes Watson's videos were going super viral, and you were like the first person to ever have him on, I think.
Yeah, I introduced him to the whole YouTube genre.
The whole game, and then he just went crazy, but now he's back in jail, I think.
Yeah, yeah, caught another case, a lot of these dudes, they crash out, they get the fame, it goes to their head, egos, and shit happens.
Yeah, like you know what? I kind of liked him for a little bit, and then he started getting all into just like everything was about money and just like cars, and I was like, oh, this guy kind of sucks now, to be honest.
Yeah, it was well, whenever you berate other people to kind of put yourself up, and the tough guy stuff, and I can beat up MMA fighters. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. And how did you get in, like, how do you get in contact with people, or do they get in contact with you generally?
Generally people contact me. I've reached out to some people to try to get them on the channel, but depending on who the person is, they don't want to come on because I kind of call them out on stuff, man, and not call them out in a negative sense, but like if it's a rapper or certain entertainers, I'm like, dude, let's talk, tell the truth. And in the black culture, man, a lot of people are in denial and they're getting a bag, so they don't want to say certain things on camera.
Like incriminating things, or
not incriminating, just calling out the obvious. Like for myself, I'm not part of the victim Olympics. I hold accountability for everything I did. I'm not blaming slavery, single mom, lack of knowing my dad, all these different things. I made choices, man. I had good things going for me, and I just didn't weigh them out properly. And so the point of doing the channel is to give back to some of these youngsters who are on the borderline, and to let them know, man, it's all right if you want to be a square, you don't want to be a super tough guy, you don't want to carry a pistol, you don't want to sell drugs. It's all right. You can be a regular guy and still be a winner. Going to prison don't make you anybody special.
Yeah. So what's your backstory for people who don't know you? Just kind of quick.
Backstory is I started fresh out 2013. I basically came up with the idea while I was in prison doing 120 months in the feds for an armed bank robbery. And my whole idea was to get out to kind of show people that, people change. Some people change, some people don't. And prior to that, I'd been to juvenile hall when I was younger, selling drugs, caught a crack case. And I also been to California Youth Authority for an home invasion. And so it took me going to the feds to learn my lesson, but it wasn't like I was a bad kid per se. I just made bad choices, and the people I socialized with was a part of that, man, trying to just listen to stuff I shouldn't have listened to. I mean, I was a straight A student. My dream back in the day was being a professional skateboarder or BMXer, but back in the 80s, there was no X Games. It was just Thrasher magazine, or Trans World.
Yeah. And like YouTube probably, like what years were you incarcerated?
I was locked up from 2000 to into 2008.
So YouTube like didn't exist when you went in, but then it was like a kind of a big thing when you got out, right?
Yeah, when I went in, there was no
no social media.
No, because I had worked in adult entertainment, and man, back then it was all DVDs.
Right. Interesting. So okay, so I have some questions. I don't even know where to start, but because we'll talk about this technology thing, and this is more just my personal interest. So I go on TikTok live. I don't know if you spend a lot of time on there. Everybody in prison has a phone now. They're all like live streaming. They do comedy sketches. They have prison cooking channels. What are your thoughts on this? Because I'm a comedian, right? Like I do this show. This isn't a comedy show. This is more just like a call-in radio show. But I'm like, I can't believe I'm literally competing now with guys who are in jail making sketches. Like, I'm like, this is crazy.
You know why? They want prison to be normal.
Yeah.
See, you got to think, like I used to tell people, there's no business that has a commercial outside of, like, as far as prison doesn't have a commercial like Walmart, Target, Jack in the Box, Chick-fil-A. They had to let prison create its own commercials. So letting these phones come in, letting these guys show you that you can be in there partying with your buddies, doing spreads, carrying big shanks, doing spice or whatever other drugs in there.
K2, yeah.
K2, you're not missing nothing. But so psychologically, it's almost though you're programming these guys like they were on a plantation, and they're like, you're free, but dude, why not stay in this work for pennies on the dollar You get your bed, you get to hang out. You got punks in there. You maybe get a visit here and there, and you feel like you're important, but you take that away. You go to the street. You got to really hustle, man. You got to take care of your kids. You got a wife or a girlfriend. You got family members. You got a job. You got responsibility. You got bills. You got car notes. You got all these things, man. So, in my opinion, for a lot of these guys, prison's a cop-out. And if you're happy hanging around a bunch of men doing spreads and talking how tough it is, dude, those are the people I avoided in there. It's sad, man, but prison has a place for certain people. Some people love it there.
Yeah, I mean, because I will say, because obviously these phones are like, they're contraband, but they obviously, and everybody says they're like, things are like, it's like $5,000 minimum to get a phone. And like, if you want a new iPhone, it's like $10,000-$12,000. And it's all the guards. Like I have a friend in the comedy world who he used to be a CO in New York. And he's just like, yeah, like the guards just bring all this shit in and they, they're just, it's just so much money. They're like, these guys make $35,000 a year, or you can buy $1,000 phone and sell it for like, $12,000. But at the same time, these guys, like, what do you make an hour working in prison? Like, what is it, like 20 cents or something? 15 cents?
20, 15 cents. But like, if you're smart and you do have a CO bringing in those phones, my buddy worked for California Department of Corrections, and they walked the CO off, and that CO made over $250,000.
Yeah,
selling phones. So if you're selling phones in there, which you got a couple homies that you look out for, dudes are doing the phone thing. If you're an inmate, you might, you can make 10, 15,000 a week. You know what I mean? So you run the phones, and then you got gambling going on in there. I know guys who put their kids through college. Running game in prison.
That's crazy. But I mean, even like with the live streaming, because I watch them live stream on TikTok, and they're like, probably makes more than 20 cents an hour just sitting there on live stream on TikTok, just talking to people. And it's probably kind of kills the boredom a bit.
Well, the thing is, the guys in there say live streaming, or, whether they're looking at entertainment or adult content, you got to figure those guys in there, some of them got 10, 20, 8 years, 5, whatever. They're not even thinking, they don't even really know what laws they're in there for.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my time in a law library, but it's sad when you think about it. When a guy gets busted, he goes to jail, he's got an attorney, and you're sitting there like you're an imbecile, and they're telling you what the charges are. These guys, I tell you, 90% of the guys in prison have never looked up what their charges are in the statutory book. They don't even know what they're in there for. They don't know if they could have kept their mouth shut. They don't know if they could have maybe have gotten time off. Guys just sit back and then they wait for some announcement, like there's a law that passed. Then they might have their people on the street do it. But these guys in there, they're the ones who are on the phones. They're watching TV. It's a party in there.
Yeah. So, and you're kind of a little, correct me if I'm wrong, like you're almost a little conspiratorial about this, where you actually think like, powers that be want this perception of prison to be like a fun time. Like, is this because like prisons are private businesses, or?
Of course, because if you're running a prison, right, you don't want to make it seem like you're monetizing prison. Like, you're not like the prison pipeline. It's got a very negative connotation, even though you have like Bob Barker, the Bushes, Jordan, all these people got products in the commissary and they're making a shit ton of money. So in order to reverse that, you got to think like, okay, let me think outside the box rather than in the box. If I let these guys get phones in, they're doing content, if they can triangulate their phone on the street to find out whether or not you committed a murder or whether or not you were here at a certain time, they know where all the reception is coming from.
Yeah,
so they do this.
I saw a live stream where the guy was wearing like, because I know all different prisons have different like uniforms or whatever, and the one he was at was, I guess they just had normal T-shirts, but the T-shirt said the prison that he was on. It had the giant logo. So like some of them you're like, okay, it'd be hard to figure out, but then people ask them, they're like, what prison are you at? And they just tell them. So it seems like just nobody cares.
Nobody cares anymore. It's changed so much. When I was in there, I'd never seen a cell phone. Yeah. I'd never seen it unless you went to a camp. Like I did my time at highs and at a medium. So at a high, Lompoc, USP, nobody ever left. Nobody left. Nobody ever got paroled. That place, the average person doing time was doing 20. You have some guys with 5 life sentences plus 100. Very depressing. The guards in there were gangsters. It was, you didn't see that unless a guy was connected high above my pay grade. So I didn't see the phones, but what I see now is with the phones, you got to look at like who's it influencing. Social media has changed the landscape, especially for a lot of the young homies. They're watching that, they're seeing it. So it's like, dude, if I catch this case, the homie's already up in there. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're rationalizing behavior like, oh man, I can go do 5 years. They haven't lived life. They're not really thinking about like going to school, taking a trade or traveling or military. So they're like, if I get caught on the block, you're already living in the projects, which is not probably that different than the pen. As far as you just hang out in that little area, shooting at everybody in there, you go to the pen, there's no guns. But if you're around your homies who already been in there, you're like, oh man, I get to kick it and I get a little status when I come out. They look at that as a badge of honor, man. It's a weird psychology.
Yeah, because like that's the thing. When I watch your videos, your interviews are like prison is hell on earth. It is, and I don't know if it's a California thing because I know like things are different state by state. But like your videos is like, man, prison sounds horrible. It's dangerous. Like all this stuff. Then you watch these guys and you're like, it seems. I'm not saying it's great or anything. It doesn't seem awesome. The food they eat's disgusting. But it definitely doesn't seem anything like your version.
Well, you got to think about like the mentality of the average person. To be honest with you, Danny, man, if you're in prison, you, to a degree, for myself, you got to dumb yourself down, man. People want to fight you if they think you're smart.
Yeah.
If you act like you're intelligent, you hang out in a law library. Like for myself, I knew some Italian guys. They would let me read the Wall Street Journal, Robb Report, Vanity Fair, DuPont. I'd read these different things. I had guys wanting to fight me because of the content I was reading in prison. Other black guys.
Yeah.
Only black guys that would be jealous. So you got to look at the mentality in there, and the average guy hasn't really been anywhere. If most of those guys, I was in the feds. I wasn't in California State. I've been in the juvenile hall in the state, but in the feds, there's people from all over the country. So you got a lot of guys at different levels who maybe were multimillionaires. They traveled. Then you got guys who made a lot of money in their neighborhood, but they never left. They maybe went one town over. For myself, I had traveled. I've been around different people. I did a few little things. So for me, prison was hell. I missed every day I wasn't on the street, and I had like a whole kind of like a reflection. A lot of guys don't reflect. They don't do any meditation. They don't read any spiritual books. They're in there watching basketball, they're gambling, smoking weed, they're making spreads. This is to them, they're doing, they call it bidding. Yeah. They're bidding. I should tell people I'm just passing through here. This is not my home.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I like, like the videos of when I watch of you, it's like, oh, it seems so dangerous. And even now, like you watch these TikTok, like they'll post these videos. Like I saw one the other day, this guy, I don't know where he was. I think he was in Georgia somewhere, 2 huge shanks. And he's just like making a video. You're like, isn't this like, aren't you worried that someone will see this? And
well, they said Georgia is like at 30% capacity with staff. They said it's bad. I mean, California is bad too. They don't report a lot of it. There's been a couple of women on conjugal visits who have been killed by their spouse in California, but in Georgia, I've been reading comments and talking to people, and they're like, dude, Georgia's out of control. And then I interviewed a guy who did time in, I want to say Missouri, and he bought cars he was in there balling. The women in there were slanging coochie. You know what I mean? They're in there bringing in drugs. Because these are like a lot of these, in those communities, these are people from the hood. So they knew you on the street. They just work in the prison. Right. So you got all these hookups. And so whether you're getting hooked up from the females where she's giving you some on the side, you got somebody bringing in drugs. They got drones that are bringing in shit now.
Yeah, I saw the drones, yeah.
Yeah, it's totally different from what it was in 2000, man. And even before I went, I was talking to OGs, and there used to be a certain caliber, especially in the feds, as far as like what type of like mental game. You'd go to the feds and you get game on real estate, investing, stock market, all these different things. So you went in there to learn. Now you got a curve where a lot of these guys are just in there and they're not really even like, and I'm not trying to knock dudes, but it's a different level of education or even criminal education.
Huh. Interesting. And like, is the like, cause I've, mostly from your videos, to be honest, but like the prison politics stuff, is it the same still? Here's my question. Okay. If I go to, cause California is all race divided, right? Okay, so and this is a question, this is mostly for the people watching right now. if I go to a federal penitentiary in California, what car am I running with?
What's your background?
I'm Jewish.
Am
I running with the pedophiles?
Yeah, no, you might get it. You might get a pass and be able to like run as like religious and kind of like avoid, but like the car, like let me tell you, like in California State, I wasn't in the state of California, but I know a lot of guys that work California State. The white guys, they don't mess around, bro. Bring your paperwork. If you're a pedophile, you're getting stabbed. You're getting stabbed up. You're not making it to the yard. California State, white guys, they do not play. Their paperwork is tight. But
would I be a white guy? Is my question. Would I be running with the whites?
It'd be hard to say, bro, because you're Jewish, and typically like the yard is run by like the ABs or maybe the Southern white guys, So they're kind of like they have their own politics. So I don't know if you'd even fit into that because you're Jewish, but like you might be able to kind of like somehow have an other table, kind of like what I did in the Feds, and there's maybe a couple other Jewish guys there, and you would be able to kind of run under the radar per se, depending on like what you're in there for. But yeah, the white guys, their thing is like really tight. The Hispanics, they don't play. I mean, if you're dirty paperwork, you're in there. There's a lot of politicking. You got to join up. And then I would have to say, like the blacks is not very organized, but the whites and Mexicans are very well organized.
Okay, so they might just be like, "Hey, we don't take Jews." So in prison they are like white. Jews aren't white in prison.
Yeah, because they got a lot of the guys. Their political beliefs or ideology, I don't think it aligns with Jewish culture because a lot of those dudes are kind of like on an extreme end, and then you got guys who are kind of like neutral, who kind of mind their business, and they don't really politic with anybody, and they got a table for people who are just like others, but you gotta, at that point, you gotta watch your own back.
Yeah. So you're like, if shit pops off, I'm just on my own.
You're on your own, bro.
Oh, that's not good. Cause I can't imagine there's tons of Jews.
Not tons. Even when I was in the Feds, there were a handful, and I was cool with a couple guys that were in there for big time, like fraud cases.
Of course.
And yeah, they were getting money, man. And, yeah, you don't see a whole lot, but at the table I sat at, I want to say there's maybe a couple guys, because I sat at like a neutral table in the Feds, but depending on who you sell with, if something happens, you got to have that, have that guy's back. Okay.
And so what are like some like misconceptions about that people have about this stuff? Like
it depends on where you're at when it comes to like all the booty stuff. There's a lot of stuff people like, oh, this guy's getting raped, and you see the movies and stuff like that. Shit happens. I didn't see it. Where I was at, I didn't see it. And if the guys were doing it, they were probably on a DL, and you're not trying to find out or be around those guys. I know in the state, it's a lot more prevalent because, in the Feds, you don't have like rapists. There's not a lot of pedophiles, or guys who assault women. You're in for usually monetary crimes. So it's a different type of mentality, even though they do have guys who get caught with, child stuff they shouldn't have, and they might go to the Feds, but they check in as soon as they get in there. But in the state, because of the mentality, you have, I would say, a lot more violent aspects with stuff going on. Guys, over tripping over somebody owing somebody money for gambling. You don't want to mess with the gambling. So they say the three things: gambling, homosexuals, and drugs. Avoid those three, because you get involved in any one of those three, you're going to have problems.
And is that stuff real where like your first day, there's like a chocolate bar on your pillow?
No. But you don't want to accept stuff from people you don't know. Like a guy gives you a commissary package and you don't know him, and you ain't from his hood, or you're not from his clique, or he's not sending word over from one of your associates, and you start eating that shit, you owe that guy.
Yeah, because I feel like there's just so much stuff where people say like, this is what's going on, and then you're like, other people are like, yeah, it's not really like that. It's hard to get, but then it's like eras too. Like some people are like, well, this is what it was like 20 years ago, and now it's not like that now.
It depends on what state you're in too. Rikers Island, I've never been there, but I heard it's no joke. Different type of mentality. Guys over there got razor blades. they're doing $1.50 to dudes. It's different. California, very racist. Me and you can't talk. We
can't even talk.
Man, and not only if we're in a law library doing legal work, maybe. You know what I mean? You're helping me, I'm helping you. We're filing appeals. That gives you a different level of value because you're helping people. So now you might get a pass, but me and you can't hang out together. We're not spreading together. You're not working out. You're not hanging out with the Mexicans. Everything's separate. California, for as liberal as it is one of the most racist states in the union as far as prison.
Prison, yeah. But I feel like people don't in prison, they're not thinking about racism, liberal, conservative. I feel like that's not do they really think about racism, or they're just no, this is our group and that's their group.
It's the structure of what the prison is based on, and then you got to figure prisons are strongholds for certain other cliques or groups of people, and that stronghold means that they run the yard with the drugs. With whatever,
it's all business.
It's all business, man. So, in the feds, I was cool with a lot of Mexican guys because I didn't grow up like that, but we couldn't really per se hang out because down south, blacks and Mexicans don't get along. Up north, blacks and Mexicans do. So it was a lot of confusion with that because they're oh man, you're hanging out with this guy, or I'm hanging out with this white guy, but I grew up differently. But so I had to, if I was a little bit smaller in prison, I would have had a lot more problems. So I tried to avoid a lot of stuff.
And kid, is it true they because you see these old videos and everybody's working out, and then I saw something where they don't let you work out as much anymore?
The OGs do. I mean, I don't know now. I've been out of the game for 20-something years, but for certain cliques, there's mandatory workouts. But a lot of these guys coming in now, it's not the same era when I was growing up where in juvenile hall, dudes were benching 370 pounds. They're strong. Everybody was yoked up and gangbanging. It was like having hands. Now, all these youngsters, they're on drugs on the street and they shoot guns. They don't know how to fight. They don't have no skill set. They're not trying to work out. So it's a different era now. It's not the same masculinity of guys coming into prison as it was back in the 90s or 80s or even early 2000s.
Yeah, because I was saying maybe a year ago, I'm man, I would love it if, they would give prisoners podcasting equipment so that they could start podcasts from prison, because I think they would be interesting. And I'm it sounds like we're pretty close to that, where they can just kind of jury rig something up and just start doing podcasts.
Well, they actually had a podcast set up in Idaho. I spoke at a prison in Idaho with some guys who were doing a lot of time, and they had equipment. And that was one of the programs in there for them to kind of part of their rehabilitation. They were doing a podcast setup in a music studio. So they have a legit setup in some of the prisons. I'm not sure how many of them do, but some of them have a music program. I was at Sheridan, and I mean, there were some guys in there with musical talent. Man, it's not like you were at a concert. I mean, so they had stuff there, and I know it's done. It went beyond that since I left.
Well, I mean, Diddy's in prison, R. Kelly, I imagine. Probably crank out some bangers.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys I know who have made whole albums from prison somehow, some way, getting equipment in, recording it, having it snuck out, or different things. So I'm quite sure there are guys in prison recording, and now with technology, you can remove background noise. You can dub over some of the voices to give it a more even tone. So there's ways you can do it.
Now, I'm a comedian. If I went to prison, would I have to do stand-up? Would they make me?
No, but if you're funny, that would be a way for people to not mess with you. If you're funny and people want to talk to you, or you've been around, the fact that you traveled, that you have some culture behind you, guys are interested in that. And then you would have a handful of guys who are jealous because they didn't do shit their whole life. And they've been down, so they're mad because you've lived a good life.
Yeah, I feel but with the funny thing is that you say the wrong funny thing, and then someone wants to kill you.
Yeah, you're not saying too much racial stuff in there. I mean, that stuff, a lot of that stuff can kick off riots. So if you are doing comedy in there, it kind of depends, I guess, on where you're at as far as what institution.
Yeah, there's no roasts.
No.
No Russ.
No.
That would get you into some hot water. All right, let's take some calls here. First caller, we have Dylan. Dylan is actually the person who, in your chat, suggested you come on the show. So let's talk to Dylan. I don't know if you've spoken with him before. Dylan, are you there?
Yo.
Can you hear him?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
On with Big Herc.
Hey, Mr. Herc. Appreciate coming on here, man. It's awesome to talk to you.
Appreciate it.
First, I want to ask you about what's going on with OG Badger. I haven't seen him in a while.
The last I heard, Badger was at MDC LA, and he was fighting his federal case that he got indicted on with all the other supposed skinheads on some type of hate crimes or something. So I don't know what's going on. I haven't heard from him since he got locked up, and that was the last thing I heard from somebody who was there that seen him. He was still fighting his case.
Who is this guy?
OG Badger. He was one of the guys, I don't know, before Wes Watson. He came on my channel and he kind of blew up, but he was he was kind of connected, did a lot of time in the state, and he's one of the first guys to kind of cross over and come on my channel as a white guy.
Oh, cool.
And as a fellow cheek buster and wig splitter myself, do you do any wig splitting or cheek busting now that you're married, or you kind of settled out of that?
No, I just bust my wife's cheeks.
Okay.
Wig splitting, I try to avoid, man, just because of the ramifications of somebody suing me or getting caught up in a situation. I try to avoid places where I feel like I'm gonna have to compromise myself.
That's just what, fighting somebody?
Yeah, fighting somebody, having to split somebody's wig.
Yeah, I've seen the merch.
Danny's been trying to get me to chill out on that.
I have been trying to get you. You have a bit of a temper.
And so one of the things that you obviously talk about is a lot about the the dynamics of like the black culture. And one of the things, obviously, you're quite dark, and there's this channel that I found, and his name is Light Skin Historian, and I didn't know. I mean, I knew there was some beef, but I didn't realize how deep the hatred goes between the light skins and darker gentlemen such as yourself. Did you experience that in prison, or what's your experience with that overall?
Not in prison, but within black culture, there, especially when you get down south, there is a thing where, where certain families may be distinct by, the brown paper bag. If you're darker than a brown paper bag, you can't date their daughter. And I've heard, I had a Mexican friend who was trying to date a black woman who was from down south, very like a debutante, very proper, and her family said that he wasn't good enough. So when you see all this stuff on social media with blacks, and they're talking about the culture, the people who aren't a part of that, who are very proper, very classy, have went to maybe Ivy Leagues or black colleges, they're not doing that shit. They don't play that. They're not wearing the do-rags outside. The parents, they went to proper schools. There is a group of people like that, but they don't have the algorithm like the ghetto shit, because the ghetto shit is what people want to see. And it's also advertisement which promotes a certain behavior. So if you're a proper black, they used to call these guys the quarter zip kids, or kids who wear polos or, collar shirts or proper. And there was a black girl who made a comment oh, you guys are trying to act like you're white. If you go back into the 30s, 40s, and 50s, blacks were very proper in Harlem, down south. A lot of these places, they're very articulate. It was what they called the hillbillies, the white kids who were illiterate. And so there's been a shift, and I would, can say conspiratorial, for blacks to basically become more countrified. And Thomas Sowell talks about it, but they want blacks to be dumbed down like that. If you go back in the Hatfield and McCormick's, all that country stuff, blacks were not doing that. And even in England, they kind of kicked those people out. They didn't want them in England. So, there was a shift in promoting a certain behavior. and a certain level of mentality, which has really, brought down the image of Black culture.
Yeah, like one of my things is I get maybe accused a little bit of being racially insensitive, but like it's kind of like my I really enjoy you. I like Jesse Lee Peterson. I like Thomas Sowell, and it's frustrating when like you see people like I dated a Black chick for 4 years, and the thing that like kind of ended it for me was like seeing like she was a fucking Oreo. But like when we'd be around like her family or peers and stuff like that, it's like they just devolve back into that shitty behavior.
Like the code switching,
like,
kind
how
of?
do you even say what?
Like code switching, like the shit that like.
Yeah. Well, like even then, but like we watched this documentary about like these like some goofy ass white kid went into the hood to try to make a documentary, and his video camera gets stolen when he goes to talk to some hood. YN, and like watching the people who like I did so much for them and like helped when her brother was in jail, or like her family in Haiti, like I was selling fucking weed and shit to like keep them fed, because in Haiti like they don't feed you in jail and all that shit. But then like the happiness that they got from seeing like these white boys get like their shit taken and all that stuff, I was like, God damn, dude, this is fucking shitty. And it's like, it just,
Sorry,
go ahead, man.
Well, I was just going to ask her,
go ahead.
How much do you think of this is, because this is a debate, is like, how much of this is class versus race, right? Because this is a big debate. Because like, again, back to the TikTok live, if you ever go on there, there's like this alternate wigger dimension going on there. Like it's crazy. Like these guys, these white guys, and they all have like gangster disciple tattoos and grills. I'm like, I wouldn't want to walk through their neighborhood either. Like, so it's like, how much of this is really race versus?
It's a big class thing, because I actually seen a white guy with wigger tattooed on him. he had wigger tattooed on him. He would wear do-rag at the gym, and he would try to look crazy. And a couple of times I looked at him when I first kind of got out. I'm like, it's not even worth it. So I just but it is a class thing, man. And within the Black community, it's sad because they have a thing where Blacks always feel they have to have a connection to the ghetto. Like, oh, I got a cousin that was in the pen. Everybody always wants to revert, but you don't hear white culture or Jewish culture going back and saying, yeah, I got a dude, he did this and he's a gangster. They don't want to associate with that. But Blacks, it don't matter if they're mixed. Certain ones, they think that makes them Black. It gives them credibility, which is bullshit. You know what I mean? So when you see that, and I've seen like, I went to school with a kid who was half Black, half white, but he was light-skinned, and he could almost pass for your complexion, Danny. And his mom was white. His dad was light-skinned. It looked like, he came from a house where his mom, they kind of had money. He wore all the cool stuff, but he could blend in. I couldn't. I was the darkest kid in the school, so we were at a predominantly white school, and he was able to maneuver. But now he's like this proactive, like Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, man, the white people and this and that. I'm like, dude, you never had no problems.
Your lived experience is like a white guy.
Come on, man. You can go places and they will look past you because you're cut. You can pass for being maybe a tan white guy, or, they would know that you're not all Black. So, dude, if you talk proper, but then you get around over here and you try to talk like your street. So there's a lot of confusion, man. And you have a lot of Black, especially look at The View, man. Sonny, I mean, dude, she can go anywhere, but she's like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. What are you afraid of?
Yeah. And now that guy you're talking about, if he goes to California prison, who does he have to run with?
He's going to run. Those dudes try their best to try to, they're going to run. He said he was a blood, so he would probably run with them, but those guys try the hardest to amplify they are Black. I am Black. Look at me. I'm going the hardest. I'm going to do this and do that and do this and do that, because they feel they have to prove themselves.
Okay. And is it really like
a job on Degrassi?
Degrassi. Is it really like the thing where, you show up and they're like, hey, go stab that sex offender like your first day?
No. But if you come up and say, hey, man, a boy right there is, he's got one of those dirty cases. He's a pedophile. We'll say, okay, you got to go handle it.
Yeah.
You bring it up. You got to go handle it. So and the thing different for me was I didn't have not one person in jail I knew from the street. I had no homies. I didn't have no hood guys. Wasn't nobody showing up that I knew. Most people in there have other people they grew up with or whatever. So it was a little bit different for me. So I was playing a lot of chess as far as mentally maneuvering and trying to put myself around people I could learn from, and I avoided a lot of the politics.
So then, sorry, Dylan, I'll let you ask a question after this, but so when you interview some of these guys, because I see the comments and how much of it is not true, what they're saying?
I tell guys like this: if you come on and you lie, you start saying you were this and that and blah blah blah, they'll bust you out. There's been COs and even officer who was there today, I got arrested, who were on my channel in the comments. I had a guy on there, OG Silverback. He made up a bunch of stories about some chocolate thunder raping, trying to take his butt and all this stuff. And then he said he trained for special forces. Somebody from the military that knew what base he was stationed at actually told him he had to go on and publicly make an apology for lying, or else he was going to get stolen valor. So if you get on my channel and you start lying, there's a lot of gang members, there's a lot of law enforcement, all these people research. And that's why people, when I go anywhere, they're like, oh, you saw it, because I remember you. There's guys who never talked to me in prison like Big Herc. I used to see you in the law library, you a real one. But I don't lie. I'm not like, oh, man, I was stabbing people. I was raising my hand. I was keistering shanks. Man, I wouldn't put nothing in my booty. I never put nothing in my booty, man.
Yeah, because I saw Wes Watson. People are he's like, I was like a shot caller, and people are like, no, he wasn't.
Dude, he didn't do no time in California. California was contracting for prisons outside the state, so he did time in Oklahoma and I think parts of Arizona. He wasn't in California. If he was a California white boy and he was down there with that shit, I know some real dudes in California. Man, he wouldn't. There's no way. Yeah. But the thing is, being from a certain place in California, if you're a white guy and you get the tattoos, you go on TV, you start talking shit. You're selling a package. This is like WWE for a lot of these guys.
Yeah,
these guys get tattoos on the head, the neck. It's like, dude, I've seen guys. I'm like, dude, are you a biker? Nah, bro, I just got the tattoos. So you're looking like you want to be a gangster. You're not a gangster. Come on, man.
Yeah, crazy. Dylan.
Just first off, the reason I ever found you was because of the first time that I almost went to prison. I appreciate all the information you've given out there because you don't glorify it. But and just one more question. I hope it's not too personal or sensitive. But does any of this I'm assuming this maybe had a point of why you made this decision with your views. Is that why you kind of decided to be with a white woman? Did that influence any of your your relationship with her, or how did that go? And then I'll jump
not
off.
At all, bro. Not at all. I've dated all kinds of women. I've had my first girlfriend was Mexican. I've had German. I've had Eastern European. I've had Filipino. Bro, I busted all type of nationality. Black. It had nothing to do with that. I was when I was dating, my whole thing was I didn't want to get married. You know what I mean? I was gonna be single. I did all this time. Before that I did adult movies. I was busting cheeks all over Japan, all over the world. So for me to get married, my wife basically kind of weeded out all the other females because she had my back. It wasn't the fact that she white. And I get the comments, oh man, you don't love the hood. You got a white woman. You don't love, dude, shut the F up, man. You know what I mean? It's what you're attracted to. What am I supposed to sit around and look for a particular type of female that may not be interested in me? And what's ironic is some of the women I dated that were black were like, you talk like a white guy. You do this like this. I'm like, so what is talking like? What, I got to act like a nigga? You know what I mean? And I'm just going to be who I am. So if I have to be outside of myself to get somebody to like me, that's not who I am. We're not going to be together. And we just happen to, it's just mutual attraction.
Yeah, just is what it is.
I'm sorry. One more thing.
Yeah.
Danny also does another show where he talks about finance and stuff like that. You guys should, or at least maybe you guys should connect for that too.
Finance,
Big Herc's actually
just lose money constantly.
Yeah, maybe Big Herc can help you with that.
Just gambling on stock options.
And do you have any tips for anybody that's starting off with nothing, to build equity and start a business? And I'll hang up now. I'll let you answer that question.
All right, thanks,
Thank you, man.
At the end of the day, invest in yourself and find you something you like to do. I mean, one of the things I got into was I saved up my money doing personal training and security stuff and invested in cars. And I was buying and selling cars. But, there's no guarantee. There's always ups and downs. People always like to talk about the wins, but they don't talk about the losses. And that's just the ebb and flow of hustling. So, if you're somebody out there and say, if you're a young person in particular, I would say, man, get into a trade, become an electrician, learn how to be a mechanic, learn plumbing. Any of those jobs, you could be a multimillionaire, work for yourself, do house calls, because half the people now can't even unplug their toilet.
Yeah. I mean, I think I saw something where, I don't know, it was Meta or Google, is they'll literally like fly you out to California and train you to be like a data center electrician right now. Like they'll fly you out, put you up, train you, and you're making at least like, I don't know, 100 something K to start once you're done.
Yep.
And there'll probably be lots of work for that for a long time. All right, let's take another call here. We got a bunch of people on the line here. We're going to go to, I believe this is John Kennedy from last week. Oh, what did he hang up? Kennedy, what are you doing to me? All right, let's try somebody else. Kennedy, you can call back. He hung up the moment that I went to go pick up. All right, we got Zack here. 1 sec, please. Zack, you're on with Big Herc.
Hello, Herc. I was curious if you're aware of the Democratic Socialists of America and their plan or desire to eliminate institution of prison entirely. I'm curious what you think about that idea, and then also what would the world look like if all these multi-lifers and some of these old timers that you speak about from the feds were just set free like next Monday morning.
Yeah. And not only that, they want to abolish prisons. They want to abolish police.
Well, I mean, the reason I ask is because it sounds crazy, but the Bolsheviks literally did that after they took power.
Just emptied the prisons.
Communism was established.
If you want straight anarchy, you want like some people who these people cannot survive in the real world. You see these guys that get out. There is a guy that got out here. He was only out a year, and he got into an argument with his roommate, dismembered his whole body. There's people like that in prison. There's guys in there that are straight. When I've talked to them and went back to the cell and like got a chill, like this dude's pure evil. If he wasn't in prison, he would probably be a serial murderer. And there are a lot of them. Prison has a place. All these the Democratic Socialist Party. I just seen that on Fox News, and that lady sitting there. She'll mess around and some dude will creep through her window, slash her through, and they're like, well, he just had to get it out of him. And those aren't, what do you call, they try to have a term for it, crimes of poverty. That's bullshit. There's certain people, if you gave them all a car, a house, and a pocket full of money, they're going to take your money too. There's a certain psychology with people you cannot underestimate. And so that whole concept, I would rather see them go down like they did down in, where was it, El Salvador, where they clean the shit up and make it safe, because there are a lot of people that what they did in California experiment, letting out the most violent criminals. Why you think the crime surged? It's almost like Batman. It's by design. Then they come back and say, well, we got to build all these new prisons, because once a couple of these, these socialist people turn around and start getting their wig split, slashed, killed, people start doing stuff, maybe finally somebody says, oh, we got to lock them up again. But then it's too late. You done lost. What did it take? You losing your daughter, your son? I mean, dude, there are people in prison, and like I said, welfare, that's all making you more dependent on the government. So you mean to tell me, oh, this guy's now, he's going to start studying more. He's going to learn how to be an artist, or maybe he's going to pursue his dreams as a doctor. If they were doing that, they would find ways to do it now. These people don't care. There are people that sit around smoking and playing PlayStation all day. They just want to look for somebody to rob. If your garage is up, they're coming in your house.
Yeah.
So you can't expect to give these people this and think like, oh, it's going to work out. And the Bolsheviks are a perfect example. They did it. Then you turn around, look how it just crushed the whole society. Look what's going on in parts of Europe. You know what I mean? Dude, it's like, and then having, like they said, legalize everybody who comes in because they deserve. So who's going to support these people? So you want to keep taxing us? We're already at 40-some%. These people are on welfare, 80% of them. They're not getting off. It's a business. They're running fraud. They got family members that are in government that are giving them NGO money. And me and you try to apply for a small business loan. We can't get it. I can't even get a fucking minority loan. So who's winning? If I'm illegal and I say I came from Cameroon, I might qualify for an interest-free housing loan.
Yeah.
So it's like these people are ignorant, man. It's like you look at it, but this has been a play they've been working on. I bet you this has been in play for like 40 or 50 years, man. And we're just now seeing it. And they're putting these people and they're testing it with, New York, and then, they're like, how far can we go? And then they'll lock you up. But these politicians, where's the accountability for their behavior? When one of these guys who gets locked up, I've seen a guy, he had 82 arrests, and then he just put somebody on fire. Dude, what the hell is that? Yeah. 82 arrests? Come on, bro. There's no helping nobody like that.
I mean, in New York, what was it? De Blasio, he was giving people Mets tickets if they just promised to show up to their court dates.
Dudes are cutting off ankle bracelets. They got a guy, he got out, cut off his ankle bracelet. Do you remember the guy in Chicago? He cut off his ankle bracelet, robbed like a 98-cent store or something. Then the cops came. He was able to, they took him to the hospital because something happened. He got out of his handcuffs and shot one of the cops in the hospital and killed him.
That's crazy. I mean, back to the DSA thing too. I don't know if you remember the story. This is from like 3 years ago. It was this woman, I think it was somewhere in Brooklyn. She's like a super like communist DSA person. She was a white woman. She's like an artist, and she was walking with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend went to go help this guy. And then the guy basically chased him down and killed him, black guy. And then she wouldn't cooperate with the police because she's like, I don't want to, like perpetrate any stereotypes or whatever. So she's like, I'm not cooperating with the police. So they just like, I don't know if they found the guy, but she's like, I'm not testifying. I'm not going to have anything to do with it. This is like their mentality.
Dude, it's that mentality. And like you said, it's these liberal white women, almost like, I heard a woman saying about some guy raped her and she didn't want to say what race he was that raped her. And I'm like thinking like I'm like, really? Are you that? Is it that crazy? Like, I don't even know how you can have a conversation with somebody who's that deranged where you don't want to identify the perp because it will be racial profiling.
Yeah.
If a person did something, I don't care what race he is, hey man, the guy did it. I mean, there should be accountability. It's stupid.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like common sense, but I guess it's not so common. Zach, you got anything else?
One thing I note is that, remember Angela Davis, who basically she got off at trial for smuggling guns to the Black Panthers who took the judge hostage and killed him. So I live in Ithaca, New York. Angela Davis is routinely invited to speak at an after-school program called Southside Community Center. And it's like so in the face of everyone, and it has been for such a long time.
Did she go to prison?
She got off at trial because of shit limb on the jury. Essentially, they were like, "We're not convicting her."
Was she like a Black Panther?
I did want to ask.
Was she the movie based on that movie? What was that movie from the 90s? Oh man, I can't remember it. Where they have like the white painted faces and they like rob the armored truck.
Oh, you're thinking of yeah, I know what you're talking
Great
about.
movie. Awesome movie. All right. Well.
I did want to ask Herc what his favorite heist movie was. I think that's a crucial piece of information that everyone should have. Heat. Okay.
Yeah, he's my favorite. Another thing on that Democratic Socialist Party, when you think about it, right? Think about the timing and how they need something like that to divide the country even more. First, they came out with this whole like really far extreme, movement with, the right. And then now they're going with this far left. So anytime we come together and appear to be working together on anything, the people, bro, it's a cycle, whether they throw in the rainbow, whether they throw this in, it's a way to keep us distracted, man. But this is all by design.
Yeah. Yeah. Dead Presidents, by the way. That was the movie.
Dead President. Yep.
Great movie. I think it was based on her, or maybe the Tupac's like mom or whatever. One of those.
Yeah. I remember that. Dead Presidents.
Great movie. All right, Zach. Anything else?
Point Break deserves an honorable mention. And Herc, please run for president. I would vote for you over any of the Republican frontrunners right now. I like your stance.
Thank you.
There you go. How much of when you're in prison? I don't know if this is more like a jail prison because the difference is what 2 years, less than 2 years of jail. Or like state versus federal. 2 years?
State. I mean, the state. I don't know what the percentage is. I mean, California. I think sometimes you do. If it's depending on your offense, maybe 50. But in the feds, you got to do 85% of your time.
But it's if you have a sentence that's less than 2 years, you go to state, and over 2 years is
no. But there's people in the feds. They do a year and a day, so they might get a year and a day, and they go to a camp. If you're low
that's
risk,
like if you get a good lawyer, like kind of sweet.
Well, if you got a white collar crime, no violence, you can go to a camp, and there basically is one guard for like 100 and some inmates.
Oh, okay. I guess my question is like, when you go to these things, like what percentage of them is just like completely mentally ill people, like barely?
Well, think like this, right? If you go to the state, you go in the state, right, and you look at like say L.A. Skid Row. I don't know what would be the equivalent in New York, but you got these drug addicts, right? So they're living, shooting up, and all this heroin, fentanyl, whatever. They get to jail now. They're getting 3 or 4 meals. They never had anything. Now they got somewhere, and they feel like this is a part of ownership. So those are the guys who are willing to do whatever. A lot of them become shot callers. A lot of them, they become life because they don't care. Because think about it, if they come from that, now they're getting 3 meals. They got TV. They're trying to control the TV. These guys have nothing to lose. If you're somebody who's been somewhere, traveled, had great food, did this and that, jail is disgusting. It's nasty.
The food, even the food that they make when they're like, this is even. Although sometimes they'll make some shit, and I go like, how did you get all this stuff?
Well, okay, if you have somebody stealing food from the kitchen, like I used to pay a guy to steal chicken, steak, eggs, certain things like that. But for the most part, you're eating processed beef sausage, top ramen, which is processed, canned cheese, squeezed cheese, chips, bag of rice that's like, the cheapest shit you'll never buy on the street. When you get on the street and you look at the shit you were eating in there, bro, it disgusts you. If you've been to Roof Chris and you compare it to this, it ain't no comparison.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like just me being getting old, but I'm just like the sodium must be the blood pressure problems of people.
Horrible.
Must be through the roof.
It's surprising more people in there don't have high blood pressure.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, let's take some more calls. We're going to go to Rubestar, then we're going to go to Jared, and then we're going to wrap this up. Thank you again for coming on. This is awesome. Awesome. Rubestar.
Danny, this guy who, by the way, I'd love to know his birthday. I feel like he's an Aries or a fire sign.
Rube is a bit of an astrologer.
I'm a Taurus.
He's a Taurus.
Guess that. What day?
May 10th.
Oh, May 10th. You're a motherfucker. All right. What year?
73.
What do we got?
73. No. Oh, Danny, you got a black Rube version on the phone with you.
This is like the black version of you, Rube? Rube.
I was born.
Herc, just so you know.
I was born.
Rube he had a wellness check. His sister did a wellness check on him, and then some cops burst into his house and he bit the cop's thumb, and so he did some time for that.
Oh shit.
He's a bit of an oddball.
Oh shit.
So Danny, just astrologically speaking, I was born January 7th, 1973. So he's like 120 days after me. So we're kind of similar in a way, if that makes any sense. He's a lot more simpler, down to earth, probably solid person than me, though.
Yeah.
Anyways, first of all, I wanted to say, after being 4-point handcuffed to a hospital bed for 3 days, the happiest thing I could have done when I finally got into jail was take a dump. Couldn't shit on the toilet. Couldn't shit while I was chained in the bed. That shit was the most powerful, beautiful thing I could do. The food that they serve is a recipe for constipation. You rarely see fresh vegetables. I think I saw 1 or 2 apples or tomatoes. I mean, there's kind of things there's tricks you got to do to get to them. I'm surprised we all didn't get scurvy. I mean, it's just you cannot say enough about how bad jail food is. And it's torturous because I'm also a chef and I'm like itching to get into that kitchen and help with the food and whatever.
I mean, I think that might be a little bit by design. They don't want to make it too enjoyable. Like, is that?
It's so bad, Danny. It feels like somebody's stealing a bunch of money. Like they probably have more money lined up for the prisoners, but somebody at the top is like, well, you only get half the budget.
Well, Herc,
You know?
what's your thoughts on like the whole private prison versus?
Well, the private prison thing for sure is controlled by, I would say, probably some good old boys and their investors. And like I know at one of the prisons I was at, like people have contracts. So if you got a buddy, he's got a dairy. You get your dairy stuff from him. You got another buddy, maybe he has a farm where he sells beef. You get your beef from him, but it's the shit beef, and he's charging you over market value or full market value. It's all by design. Food is outside of like having sex is the most comfort you can have to make you feel like you're normal. And if you compare it to like European prisons where they have these environments like more of a dorm setup, people are actually in those type of environments thrive more for rehabilitation. But the thing about American prisons is you couldn't do that everywhere because there are certain people with the mental health, the drug usage, they're just animals, bro. And they don't know how to survive in that. So the food is a big thing. And, you know, unless you got connections, I mean, I'm a health guy. I was bodybuilding before I went in as far as just really watching my diet, you know, and in there, it was so horrible, man. I just had to try to block out everything I read about protein, carbohydrates, fats, and stuff because I was eating shit for 8 years.
Yeah, it must be hard to hit the macros. And
yeah, not happening.
Not happening. Rube?
Then I got to say the next fun thing about being in jail, I was just in county jail, is I was up to about 300 push-ups a day. Not consecutively. I do them like sets of 30. But my body was just, I never had a more beastly body. But I wanted to comment on demon possession.
Okay.
When I first got thrown in, they throw you in with all the crazy people, whatever cell that is. And there's this one black guy that came up to me. He wouldn't stop talking. Anyways, I was going to say his name, but I'm not going to say it. Anyways, so I had this bag of chips. He's like, hey, give me something tasty. Give me something tasty. So I gave him my bag of chips or whatever. And he's always screaming and yelling. Well, the day comes that he gets thrown into our pod whenever I get sent to my own pod for the next 4 months. This guy screams and yells so much, they just pass him around, you know, until, you know, you can't take him anymore. And the one time they're yelling at him and he says, I can't help it. They're telling me to cut off my arm. And he like has, now this guy was born in 1970. He was in Gulf War. I know that. And he would say like above his right arm, the voices in his head want him to cut off his arm, right? He goes up to his room. He throws a sheet over his head. He starts singing Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. I don't know if you know that or not. Okay, makes the voices go away. He comes down. He's all happy. We say it together. We're keeping the voices away. I get out of jail. I get on YouTube, and I come across, I don't know if it was Conspiracy or Us or something along that, Understanding Conspiracy. They're talking about the Nephilim being demons and shit like that. And the one guy gives testimony about how he would try and treat like psychiatric criminals, and he would use that psalm to calm their minds. I was wondering if you encountered anything like that or knew anything about that.
I don't know anything about that as far as the psalm in regards to treating somebody with that type of ailment. But what I can tell you is that the demon possession, I believe, is real. I believe that there's ways to channel certain negative frequencies and energy. And in prison, I was able to I would do almost like you know, you could call it a godlike or Yoda-like force field around myself when I walked so that I would avoid and not have to worry about these people. But I feel like a lot of these guys, what's happening is because they are such low frequency. And there are a lot of demons, fallen angels, whatever you want to call them, floating around. And the more empty the vessel is, the easier it is to enter that vessel and to take it over. So if you're a guy who listens to like a lot of demonic music, and younger people are easier, older people, because you've matured and if you've had a good soul and you got a spiritual base. But if you notice, like a lot of the guys in prison, they don't believe in God. They don't believe in retribution. They don't believe in karma. They don't believe in any of these things. It's not till they become old men and the fact that they've lost their youth that they start changing their ways. So if you're somebody who has even a sense of God or any type of religious background or faith, you will see that it's a big difference between a lot of the people in there. And a lot of them are demonic, man. If you're doing a lot of drugs, you're alcohol, I mean, these vets, they need somewhere to go. And if you notice, once they use up that particular entity or host, that person's done. They're empty. They don't have no need for them no more because they've already lived out whatever evilness they needed to do, whether it's a mass murderer or, you know, some type of just disgusting crime. They leave. So these people, they are, I truly believe there is some type of possession taking place.
Interesting.
All right. I got to tell this story. Now, this is not something I would have told anybody unless I felt really, really safe, you know. And so this is when I was in jail. Thank you, Danny. So I'm in jail for biting a cop's thumb. You know, wellness check went real wrong. And I was blacked out in my defense. They tased me like 4 times, and I thought I couldn't see. I thought my brother was choking me in my sleep or something. But whatever, you get what you deserve one way or another. While I straightened up. As soon as I woke up in the hospital, they said they gave me enough ketamine to put down a horse. I feel like people are using that for therapeutic value, and I kind of feel like it really straightened me out. Anyways, while I'm in there, I'm on my best behavior. You know, jail will break you down to your smallest pieces, and you'll build yourself back up if you have any, you know, integrity in you at all. So while I'm in this real vulnerable situation, let's say I'm in my cell, you know, for 30 days solitary. 2 guards come up to me, prison guys, and just a part of me, Danny, wants to grab a pen and stab them. It's the craziest thing. It happened over and over and over again. And it's just like he said, if you're an empty vessel, you will get filled up with something. And I'm like, I was like, why the fuck would I do that? It makes no, it almost felt like they wanted me to do it. Like the way they were looking at me or smirking at me or something, it's almost like, go ahead, do it, you know, because a lot of them were goading me. Once you bite one cop's thumb, they're like, oh, maybe he'll bite my thumb too, you know, this fucker, you know,
why do they want you to bite their thumb?
Well, you get like paid vacation and shit like that. When I woke up, the one cop had his finger in my mouth after I had bitten a thumb. You know, they tranked me, they took me away. I woke up. Oh, shit. I woke up, and I go, why do you have your? It's like, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm like, oh no, not this again. You know, I know not to bite fingers because they beat the fuck out of me once I bit the finger. You know,
of course.
Oh my God, they gave it to me good. But anyways, I had those urges. I just want to say, I really felt like, and getting out of there. You know, it was demonic. It was something was living in those rooms or in those guards that wanted you to just go fucking nuts.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but you ever see that movie with Denzel where he's walking and there's like different things and they're like entering the bodies, like energy, and you think like when you ever pass by somebody and you felt like damn, you know what I mean, like a weird vibe or a wind. That's our sixth sense. Kids have it. When you're a kid, you have it. When you're like, that house is weird. But as you get older, because we've been unprogrammed, we don't really have that ability to tune into that. But if you could tune into that, and you know, a lot of it has to do with, like you said, how strong I believe your beliefs in spiritual and this goodness is. Because if it's easy, if you are empty and you don't have anything to basically fill in whatever your vessel, your body as a host, these spirits are running around. They're looking to live out whatever demonic intentions they have. And in jail, they hang out all day because that's a great place for them to keep you in there, you know, because they're serving whatever they're serving and they're doing their job. But like on the street, that's why good people get tested more than evil people, because good people, when they fall, it's almost like it's like a status for whatever entities, I feel. Yeah. That's why it's harder to be good than it is to be bad. It's easy to go out here and just do dumb shit all day.
Yeah. Anything else there, Rube?
No, I'll let you go, Danny. Thank you. Herc, it was nice talking to you. I'm going to check out your show.
Thanks, you.
Rube. Do you have any thoughts on the fact that like this country closed so many mental health, like kind of crazy houses and just put everybody in prison?
I think that was one of the biggest mistakes. They need to open those back up.
Like the asylums?
Yeah, man. There are people who because of just drug usage, I mean, I know personally because I have family members. I had a family member who overdosed, had another family member right now staying with a relative of mine because if they weren't, they would be homeless. And I got another family member who is homeless who's had an excess of 7 kids on the streets.
Wow.
Her sister adopted 2 of them. Her mother tried to adopt like 3 of them, and then the other ones they had to let it go to CPA. So somebody's still putting babies on the street, and it's sad because it's mental health. My grandmother tried to help, and this person, because of just the stranglehold of drugs, they just couldn't get off it, and so they said you had to leave, and they left. They left the house with food and everything. So mental health, man, we need to bring those back because prison is the worst place because it's not suited to treat those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what the exact number was, but I want to say like, because I think in the 50s in this country is when they started shutting down all the mental, and like there were some probably decent reasons. They were like, you know, abusing them and doing all sorts of crazy shit. But like there used to be like, I want to say 200 or 300 mental, like per, like, I don't know what it was like 200 per 100,000 or something. And now there's like 13 in the country.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, like they got rid of them all, basically. I know Trump wants to bring them back, which is, to be honest, I think a pretty good idea. I mean, I live in New York City, and you see so many people kind of wandering around the subway, and you're like, this person just legitimately needs to be in an asylum.
Being out in New York, I just out of curiosity, man, is it like, I see where they push that veteran guy on the train tracks. Is it like that bad out there where you got to look over your shoulder? Okay.
Nah, like, I'll be honest, I pay attention to my surroundings because I'm not like stupid.
Yeah.
But I've never, I mean, look, I know 2 comedians who have had their faces slashed.
Damn.
Yeah. One guy, Doug Smith, this was like 15 years ago. There was like a woman who was like getting raped or was about to get raped at like 4 a.m. And he tried to intervene and dude slashed his face. He's got this big ass scar. And another comedian, this kid, young kid, he was like 20, lived in Coney Island. He was just like in the city doing a spot, and he fell asleep on the train, which is a big no-no. You never fall asleep on the fucking MTA. And he woke up to this dude trying to steal his iPhone, and the dude just like slashed his like right under his eye. Like very lucky that he wasn't blinded for life.
Wow.
Yeah, just missed. But for the most part, it's overblown, the danger here. It's not that tons of crazies, but like you go in the subway, like I'm right by Times Square right now, the subway station, it is full of cops, like full of cops. They're everywhere. And those are just like uniformed cops. There's probably tons of plainclothes. They're everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like LA then.
Yeah, there's tons. And even like Port Authority, which is right here, you go in there and I don't know if it's National Guard, but like dudes with like huge, like, you know, guns walking around. So it's not that dangerous. But again, I'm in Manhattan. Like I'm sure if someone's way out in Brooklyn or in Bronx or Queens, they're like, it's a different story. All right, let's take our final call of the evening. Thank you again, Herc. This is excellent. I've enjoyed this very much. We're going to go to Jared. This should be interesting. See what Jared's up to. Jared! Final call of the night.
Sir.
How you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing fantastic.
Pleasure as always.
Always. Yes, sir. Big Herc, I was curious. How knowledgeable is the black community in prison about the Jew problem and Jews' involvement in slavery?
You know what? Some of the smartest brothers I've met were in prison. A lot of Muslim brothers, a lot of brothers out of New York. They got a lot of reading material that's not readily available on the streets. So when you start like talking to these guys, and I'm kind of like an old soul, so I connect with a lot of older guys, and there is material in there that shows like who insured the slave ships. And then, you know, there's also stuff in there where it talks about, you know, the Africans who were capturing other Africans on the West, you know, the African coast and actually selling them into slavery and working with the French and the transatlantic. So there's a lot of material in there, and you see that it's way more in depth than what they talk about. And
how do they get that? How do they get those books in there? I always would be under the impression that like the actual library would be limited.
Well, this is in the feds, there's a lot of these books have been passed down. You can't get them in there no more. Like there were books I tried to order, and in the mailroom they refused them. They wouldn't let me have them. They said they're a threat to prison security.
Really?
And these weren't books on anything, explosives or anything like. These are books on just information.
Yeah.
And they don't want you to get smart in there. So, you got to have a way. Like a friend of mine, he was his own attorney fighting his case, so he was able to get books in as a legal representative for himself. But yeah, they'll go through those books, and if it's too much information, they don't want you getting smart in prison, man. They want you to stay pretty dumbed down. But these OGs, they got material, and the cool thing about it, sometimes when they transfer you, the COs that are assholes will lose your shit purposely because they feel you're a threat. You're very knowledgeable. You know how to write up staff. And so they get rid of that stuff. But I read a lot of stuff in prison that really opened my eyes, and I felt like an idiot, just as far as information about history that's not taught in school.
Interesting. Go ahead, Jared.
I am quite surprised and happy to hear that this information is being circulated, and it's not exactly fringe. So from what you're saying, this is rather common knowledge that's floating around in the places you've been and the, blocks you've been a part of.
Yeah, there's a whole group of guys in there called Moors, Moor Science. And a lot of them, this is I don't know how much you know or a lot of people know out there.
He knows a lot.
Okay. Well, then you probably already know that there was a lot of Moors over here that were settled. And if you look at through history, they don't talk about it, but a lot of the black multimillionaires and people who own property, they were never slaves. They were already here before, and they were free men, and they were operating here and doing business. And yeah, there were people who tried to colonize them, but these people weren't going for it. So there were a lot of educated black people here. Not everybody came over who looked like Kunta Kinte, but that's what they want us to believe. Like Roots is like the movie series they pushed, and oh my God, we were all slaves and blah, 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 blah. And then you come to find out, some of the biggest slave owners down in Louisiana and parts of Florida were black. They owned a lot. The guy who came up with chattel slavery was a black guy who owned slaves, and a slave was trying to get his freedom, and he took it to court and lost, and that's where chattel slavery came from, wasn't from a black slave owner. So there's a lot of information out there, but people, for whatever reason, lack of drive to seek the truth and to, kind of justify their existence, they want to perpetuate a certain narrative, and they don't want to really find out how rampant or how things really were beyond what they were taught in the surface level. And it's easy to have a victim mentality. I'm not saying that the shit didn't happen. I'm not saying that there weren't people who were victimized. But what I'm saying is that there are a lot of people who do not want to go beyond surface level information to get to the truth.
I agree with you, and I just want to commend you for your opinion on sharing these ideas. And there's many books which shine light on these subjects. One of them being The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, which can illuminate.
Who's the author
some of these? That's a good question.
Anonymous.
I want to say it's actually a Jewish gentleman.
Okay.
I don't have that. I try and stick with Jew sources when possible. There's times I stray, but it's often best to take the words out the horse's mouth if you're gonna engage in the conversation. You and I, Danny, have had wonderful conversations. Big Herc, you're doing amazing things. Thank you for being here today, sir, and shining some light on what goes on the inside.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Thanks, Jared.
You,
anything else?
That'd be all. Thank you.
Later, Jared. Jared, everybody. All right, that's been the show. Thank you very much again for coming on. Big Herc, where can people find you? Where's the best place?
They can find me on YouTube and Instagram, Big Herc 916, or Fresh Out YouTube or Fresh Out Series on Instagram.
Perfect. Thank you again for coming on. This was, again, as someone who consumes, honestly, almost mostly prison stuff at this point. I don't know what my fascination. I don't know if the fascination is that I've heard someone say it before. This is like maybe a uniquely American thing where everybody is just like this close to being in jail in this country. Like just the most, you see it all the time where it's just like the most minor thing could happen that could get you. Like obviously people do like horrible things, but then there's also, you hear all these stories where people just like, yeah, I just kind of was careless in my car or just like some mix up or whatever. And you just like wind up in jail. I don't know. It's just there's some sort of fascination about it, but obviously there is because like, these channels, your channel and like all these channels do so well. I don't know if this is like maybe guy version of true crime, like how women love true crime.
I think it's embedded in our culture. I mean, ever since you had like, the train robbers and, Alcatraz and, John Dillinger or Al Capone, prison and that, what you've heard has always been of interest. And then there's so much Hollywood stuff behind it. That's, basically fantasy, I guess now it's taken on a whole nother animal.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I try to punch holes. I try not to glorify it. I hate seeing people like throw their lives away. And, it's, everybody has a different experience, man, but I definitely think that by commercializing it, they're trying to make people think that prison is no different than going to college at New York University.
Right. I mean, it depends who you watch. Some people I see some interviews and you go, this sounds like the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. And then some people, I see these lives. It's more the live streams. I go, this doesn't look that. They're all smoking weed, getting drunk. I'm like, it's just like, what is going on?
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much again for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Big Herc, everybody. All right. That's been our show. Hold on. Thank you very much, everybody. Shout out to Gerard for Man in the Phones. Couldn't do this without him. Missed some super chats. Let me read these. Dylan says Jared versus Abdul, me versus every single Tool fan. Oh, I paid to watch all that. Jared says LVM Fight Club would be awesome. It would, as long as I don't have to fight. Pablo says, LOL, Danny, just say you tight with the J man. Boyota dropped a couple supers. And Howling Labubu, Upper Management Slaves is a good sketch, Danny. All right, I'll take that into account. That's been the show. I don't know what's going on for next week. I think next week's episode is not going to be on Monday. For some reason, I have a Netflix audition for a show on Netflix on next Monday at 9:00, like a stand-up thing. So I have to do that. So we'll probably do it a different day next week. I don't know which day it will be, but we will figure it out. Anyways, that's been the show. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me. Someone says aggressive Yeti. We should have time after the show. I mean, we already did 2.5 hours. How long do you want these things to be? All right. I know you want them to be longer, but I wish I was going on Love Island. The wife wouldn't like that. I'm not getting pranked. It's that Funny AF show with Kevin Hart. I'm not going to get the audition, but I'm going to go do it. It's just stand up. Anyways, that's been the show. Thank you to Gerard. Thank you to you all. Thank you to Dylan. Give the man his flowers. Great guest. I love talking to Big Herc. It was a fun time, and we didn't have to talk about occultism or some bullshit. All right. Joe Rogan is not 6 hours. His shows are this long. All right. That's been the show, everybody. We'll see you next week. I'll keep you posted on what day it's going to be. Probably will be, I think, Tuesday. Tuesday instead. Dylan Farnham, everybody. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you soon. Later.
poet, you know it, all my shit heroic. Empathic abilities, yeah, my face be also stoic. Bleep, blow up, nigga, that just means I'm working. They see me as a leader, so that's why I'm Captain Kirkin. These tracks from the stars, that much is for certain. You can fit this hit if you up or if you hurt. I'm raising my stock, not talking my feet in some Birkin. Number Johnny 5, got a fucking short circuit. Bring the track to life when I spit phenomenal. When I hit, she feel that shit in her abdominals. These rappers make me laugh like comic view, they comical. You know I got a ball out, I hit the track running just like Sonic do. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. They was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. And they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. Now we pulling up fresh on some flight shit. Ha. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. They was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. Then they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah. They don't wanna turn on my light switch.